What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Late Night Show. Used to be our podcast, but now it's just us hanging out late at night because I have no job, as was previously mentioned. Welcome up, everyone. What's up, everybody? Let me know if the music's a little too loud. Turn it down a notch. Well, how the hell is everybody doing? RuneForge table loves this time slot. Well, you know, RuneForge game, we got a little bit of lo-fi fantasy ambiance going. We've got the lights turned down, one stop. That means 50%. And it's 11 p.m. and I don't have to be up tomorrow. So for my usual Wednesday stand-up. So here we are, hanging out. We're probably going to see a lot more of these kind of streams in the future, just because we're hanging out. Oh, we got the Project Shadow Deep sticker up there, so we got to get rid of that. Karama says, "Aw, man, after hours." I don't know if he's excited or disappointed. Oh, look at that. Thaddeus coming in hot.
Thaddeus tipped $10. Late night cheers. Hope you are taking care of yourself.
Thank you, Thaddeus. That is very nice of you. Thank you so much. Oh, we got a super chat too. Thank you, Thaddeus. Well, today I went to the gym. I went to the gym 5 days last week, which is the first time I've gone to the gym 5 days in a long time. And of course, last week was my first week of unemployment. I've always given this advice to people when they go through major changes in their life. Typically, after breakups or, maybe like the loss of a job or something like that. I always say that it's an opportunity, not necessarily to redefine yourself, although that can certainly be the case, but it's often an opportunity to rediscover yourself, to reconnect with yourself. Maybe some elements that are important to you, but aren't urgent. And, I think about like the Eisenhower matrix, right? Where you have important and urgencies on X and Y axes. And it's very common that important things can get left aside because urgent things that aren't necessarily important keep taking up so much of your time. Anyways, so I always try to tell people that you should focus on something about yourself, maybe improving or reconnecting with physical, mental, and social. And so for me, maybe it's picking up a new sport or a new hobby, or just getting out and doing walks and doing hikes, or getting back, into something that you love to do. Physical, mental, maybe pick up reading again if you haven't been reading as much. Maybe try to learn a new hobby. And for social is kind of like a social or spiritual, depending on, your proclivities. For some people that might mean, getting back involved with church, or maybe rediscovering or reconnecting with your faith. For me, who isn't into that as much, social can mean trying to spend more time with friends or reconnect with people who I've fallen out of touch with. And I find that those three things, that physical, mental, social approach, ironically also the names of the three defenses from Earth Dawn, physical, mental, and social, have always been a good recipe for me to try to, quote, take care of myself in whatever fashion that means. Again, let me know if the music is too loud. Roman came in with a $5 super chat. Said, question, genuinely curious. What is the story behind the logo? Who made the channel logo? Who made the thumbnail for today? Is it AI? It is AI. That is you could do it with the music being quieter. Awesome. I'll turn it down a little bit. So yeah, it took me about 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds to make that logo. Obviously, I have a pretty good working knowledge of how these ChatGPT and Gemini work. But yeah, it's really good. It's like the long and short of it. Let's see here. Oh, Karama. Thank you very much, Karama. This is your job now. I, for one, can't wait to see what you think of my terrible monster. It's very much my kind of monster. Karama, there's like 5 or 6 Pathfinder 2 monsters, so it's going to be a tough competition as opposed to the other 3. What Karama is referring to is I had a monster design contest for my patrons, and there's 4 categories: Pathfinder 2, Fabula Ultima, Dragonbane, and then sort of OSR, OSE, Shadow Dark, BX, AD&D, something more that we would recognize as sort of very basic, simplified D20. And the winning contestant in each category gets a $25 drive-through RPG gift card. And where I'm going to go through the monsters and I'm going to score them. That the people knew the scoring matrix. It's out of 100. And top prizes win. Unfortunately, some of the other categories only have like 2 or 3 entries. But we'll wait. We'll come to see. Karama, I'm expecting a Karama monster. How about I put that way? Let's see here. So level 2 channel wants to know if the logo is new. It is new for tonight, although sort of, in that we used to have a podcast show called The Late Night Show, which was me, Bob, and Smith. We'd get together at the studio with the podcast, no cameras. Well, we eventually did record it, and that was just for patrons, but it was predominantly an audio podcast. Like, we had cameras on, but we weren't talking to the cameras or addressing the cameras. It was more of like bonus behind-the-scene footage for patrons. We kind of just turned the cameras on, left them on. There was no editing. But it was an audio podcast on our podcasting gear, and we would drink whiskey or bourbon or whatever, and, tinkle the glasses. And it used to be called The Late Night Show, which I always thought was fantastic. And so kind of bringing that back a little bit. Now, the funny thing about The Late Night Show was, like, a lot of times because of scheduling, we'd be drinking whiskey at like the middle of the day. So it was kind of disingenuous from that perspective. But, the premise was the same. I like to think that it was like a bunch of guys getting together late night, talking about RPGs, sharing some nice whiskeys over the rocks. So, yeah, it's good stuff. How many episodes was that? Great question, George. Let's see. Knights of Last Call Podcast Network. It's still here on Spotify. The Knights of Last Call Podcast Network. We did 11 episodes of the Late Night Show. Episode number 011 was "What is the future of RPGs for us?" And it was joined by Kaz. No, we managed to do quite a few of them. What's up, Sunhawk? Hello. Vin says, not our normal Vindiana, not our normal Vin. Last time I got laid off, I got into whiskey. I think your ideas are a bit more healthy. Well, to each their own. I'm not here to judge. I've had my bouts with the sauce before. I don't think I've ever like let it control my life, but there's been times where I've drank more, and there's been times when I drink a lot less. I haven't really drank as much since last year when I got the panic attacks, and I started taking some medication, and I've been, I'll have like one, beer, or maybe like 2 if it's like a, something that's not, if I do like 2 Talbs beers, or like 2 mixed drinks, I'm pretty good for the rest of the night. Dr. Waits just finished up their Cthulhu game. A real Cthulhu game, or like a pulp Cthulhu game? I'm just kidding. I don't have any of those preconceived notions, but some people are very judgmental. What's up, Lope? Glad you could make it. Ilya, I'm very disappointed in you. If you're playing Monster Hunter, you should not be listening to this channel. You should be paying attention to your Monster Hunter game, trying to milk XP like a good PBTA player should be. Mark has got the right of it. I'm staying up late because I am unemployed, but I'm glad this is the first chill stream. I'm glad we haven't had as many of these, but maybe we'll have more of them. He's got to go to bed because he's got to go to the office tomorrow because his job exists, number one, and also now sucks. Sorry, Boothby. Origin soon, my friend. Well, Pathfinder PhD, that's all right. I find like these kind of streams are probably, I'm not saying that people shouldn't listen to them on the VOD, but I don't even monetize these streams because I'm like, I feel bad even asking somebody to watch. I mean, I think YouTube will still probably run an ad, but like I turn off monetization, so I don't know if it actually runs. But yeah, I'm on West Coast time. Speak of the devil himself. I was just talking about you, Kaz. I was just talking about you being on our last episode of the late night show when we did the podcast. Well, Dan, you know, I'm now free as a bird, my friend. Free as the bird that is your logo. To do whatever I want and I can. I mean, my natural proclivity is to sort of go to bed around 2 to 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and probably wake up around, you know, like 11 or 10, 11 a.m. I'm not a morning person at all. I like staying up late. I like the evening hours. And so, you know, for me, this works great. Obviously, I was, you know, waking up, going to bed early for me is like midnight, and like waking up so that I could, you know, work. But now I don't have that. Wait, you guys sleep when you have jobs? Yeah, sleep is very important to me. I've never been, I mean, there have been times in my life where I've really cut back on sleep, and my health and my mental health and my physical health suffered for it. So I really make it a priority as much as I can to get sleep. What's my opinion on odd suit? I don't know what odd suit is, so I do not have an opinion on it. Oh, you're drinking it straight up. Neat, huh? I love the rocks. Number one, I like the clink. I like the kinkle. Number two, I'm not gonna lie. You can call me a wuss. I like that it starts off with that bite. And then I like that it sort of gets diluted a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier for me to sort of enjoy the drink. It sort of changes the textural context of the whiskey. That punch it in the mouth, like almost like doing a shot of whiskey, the first sip is fine, but I don't want to have that experience for the whole drink. So I really like when it kind of boils off. That being said, this is a late night show, so fuck, I don't care about the tangent. I really love it when you go to a nice place, a fancy place, because when it is just, you know, ice, it can melt a little too quickly and then it becomes very watery. I absolutely love when you get a nice rocks glass or tumbler glass and they put like the sphere or the specialty cube, but like the sphere is the traditional bougie piece of ice, because that does a great job. Number one, I do like it cooled down a little bit. And again, call me a wuss, but also it's my understanding that a colder drink doesn't have as much of a punch. So I think it kind of dulls it down a little bit as much. And again, I like the taste of whiskey. I just don't like that burning alcohol, flavor. Anyways, so I like the dilution. I like the chill, but the sphere melts a lot slower than just 3 or 4 ice cubes. So I really appreciate that. There's a great restaurant in downtown Willoughby that I was just introduced to called Hook and Hoof. And my friend, his wife, she has a bourbon locker there. And I went with them to dinner the other couple weeks ago, and I let her order a drink for me, and they make it with her bourbon out of her bourbon locker. And basically she has to pay a pretty high premium to buy the locker for the year, but then she can basically buy the liquors at cost essentially from the restaurant, and then she can keep them in her locker and they'll serve it to her during dinner. And I got this like smoked Manhattan that was so good. It was crazy. And it had like the nice sphere, but like they actually like did something where they like trapped the smoke in the drink and it had this like smokiness to it. It was, and then had that nice, like the cherry, and it was a divine drink. It was very, very good. Anyways, sorry. You thought it was only 4 or 6? To be fair, that's not too surprising, Lance. Most of our things were like, oh yeah, we did that 75 times. It's like, oh no, we only did 10 times. He says, don't judge Pulp Cthulhu. It's great. And Dr. Wade says Pulp Cthulhu. I'm not judging it at all. In fact, I don't really like Cthulhu because I think there's a lot of the elements that I don't like, because I don't like the investigation, and I don't like we're all doomed to die, and it's only inevitable before we all go screaming into madness. But Pulp Cthulhu, where it's like kick in the door with a shotgun and shoot shoot Yogg Sothoth or Sothoth or whatever in the face. I mean, that sounds cool. Oh, Shaggoth or what they called? Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Well, I'm glad, Kaz. I'm happy for. I mean, obviously, Kaz. I mean, who knows here, right? In a couple of weeks, maybe you guys could be joining me. Not to make light of your situation, or all of our situations. 2 toddlers force every father to become a morning person. Can't wait to wake them with my lawnmower a decade from now. Yeah, no, staying off of that. you have a question, ice or whiskey stones? Well, I think I kind of answered that. I like the ice because I do enjoy the whiskey stones obviously can cool it down, but the idea is that, but the whiskey stones don't dilute it. But as I said, I like the little bit of dilution. And I enjoy that it changes because I'm not really a shot guy anymore. I used to do shots, of course, but I just when someone sits me down with like a fucking glass of whiskey, I find that just to be just too overpowering. So I like the dilution because it kind of follows this curve, down. As I'm losing interest in the drink becomes less potent, and that works out really, really well for me. So it's like this nice sort of, like there's this nice diminishing return curve of whiskiness that I'm in for. I have a D20 ice cube for my bourbon. Well, there you go. That sounds amazing. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, the Japanese people, yeah, they probably carve an ice sculpture out of it with like a surgical, scalpel or something. But yeah, I've seen like a YouTube or maybe it's like a TikTok short where there's this Japanese guy and he has this like thing and he's like shaving down the ice or something. That was not my best. I have a question for KLC, folks. I agree. That's right. I'm all about the tension curve for combat and for booze. That is actually true. In fact, if anything, William, what would be cool is if I could start the drink a little diluted so that it's not that punch me in the mouth hit. But then, now that I'm kind of used to it after the first couple of sips, if we could remove the dilution and have it become its most potent in the middle of the drink, and then have it fade off again as we move into the last third of the drink. That would be my ideal whiskey tension curve. For sure. Happy Tax Day, everybody. I gotta say, annoyingly, I did have to pay this year because we didn't spend as much money on the channel like we usually do because we didn't have the studio. Studio was very expensive. Running those shows was very expensive. Paying the talent was expensive. Paying the rent was expensive. Paying the utilities was expensive. Paying the insurance was expensive. And normally I wrote all that stuff off and it basically ate up all the money that the channel made. Well, I did not have that this year. And of course, YouTube and Patreon don't withhold anything. And at the time I wasn't really thinking about it or really too worried about it. I knew it was going to be something, but I was like, it's fine. I've got a job. I'll be great. I'll be fine. Oops. So today was an expensive day. Let's just say that. And yes, I did wait until the last minute. To be fair, I always kind of wait till like March to file my taxes because I figure it's an interest-free loan. I almost always owe, and it's an interest-free loan from the government, so I'll take it. But then, my father passed and I lost my job, and I've just been so distracted by a million other things, and haven't had that. Plus, we've got still have the 2 foster dogs, so things have been kind of chaotic and hectic around here, and I just didn't get around to doing it. I wanted to keep streaming and I wanted to help my mom, and so it's been quite the experience. Yes, the bell curve of alcohol, the 3D6 of alcohol. Is the solution a straw? Maybe. It's interesting. I've seen those like layered drinks. I've had those before. I didn't really think about that in terms of like a density, viscosity layer. Living is definitely expensive. That is for sure. So, what's everybody think about? Of course, every YouTube person out there has been making a video about, Jeremy Crawford leaving WotC, Chris Perkins leaving WotC. Mike Merles is still going on his kind of like shit talking tour of every frickin' YouTube channel that'll have him on to kind of talk shit about 5e and how it sucks. And conveniently enough, he's working on his own version of 5e. Just come join his Patreon. I can't blame him. Guy's trying to hustle. That's cool. But it's interesting because you just see how much more views those videos make. I thought about looking into that. Like maybe like I was like, oh, now that I'm not working, maybe I'll have more time to watch these other videos. But instead, I started working on an AI agent that is going to watch the videos for me and then summarize that shit because I'm like, I don't want to watch those videos. They're all the same. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's valid. But like, how many talking heads do you need to hear that from? I don't know. Are they really offering a new take or new perspective? I can't imagine that they are. Anyway, it's the death of D&D until the next death of D&D. I mean, here's the thing that this is why this whole thing is so stupid and so overplayed, because I played D&D during 4th edition, and I remember how the backlash against 4th edition, and it was real. But and I felt like this at the time. I was still like, D&D is still D&D. D&D is still number one. And everyone was like, no, Pathfinder's outselling D&D. And years later, the Paizo folks who came out and said, a lot of people were talking about that back then. And no, we had the numbers. Like, we were all friends. We all lived up in Washington. Pathfinder never outsold even 4th edition D&D. So, like, the edition that is, like, villainized as being, like, the worst edition of all time and was, like, poo-pooed by everybody and was considered to be a complete failure and almost killed D&D, still outsold the number 2 game. It just didn't, D&D 4th edition was the first real Hasbro edition of D&D. Obviously, Hasbro owned Wizards of the Coast during the 3.5 era, but like, that had already come out. So, I mean, 3.5 was kind of hyper accelerated because of the Hasbro purchase, but like 4E was sort of like, we are designing this, and we have profit margins and target margins, right? Because Wizards of the Coast was not a publicly traded company, but Hasbro was. So the issue with 4th edition wasn't that it didn't sell well. I'm sure the sales weren't what they expected to be. It's that they didn't reach those arbitrary targets. You ever see that? Like, where a stock, like the company goes, hey, our sales are up, our costs are down, our inventory is turning over faster than ever, our factories have never been more efficient. And then the stock plummets because they missed their target. Everyone expected them to do well. They just expected them to do a little bit better. And, the company fell apart. Anyways, the thing this time is, D&D 5th edition is in no way, shape, or form even remotely close to in trouble. It is so undeniably the biggest game that it's just not even close. And so, while I feel like during the 4th edition era, YouTube D&D wasn't really a thing back then. It's a shame, by the way, obviously, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame that like when I started doing YouTube during COVID, like a lot of people, it was during an era when I didn't particularly like the version of Dungeons and Dragons that was out. And that's the time when everybody, D&D was never bigger and never more popular, and there was all these people playing it, and could have made a killing. And that was the one time where I'm like, it's such a classic Derek thing where I'm like, Aaron would always, Smith would shit on me and be like, oh, Derek, you're just, you're the ultimate hipster. Wait, what? D&D's popular now? I'm out. To be fair, I didn't like D&D when it was, I didn't like 5th edition D&D when it wasn't cool to like, before everybody else thought it wasn't cool to like 5th edition D&D. I didn't like 5th edition D&D back in 2015 before it was cool to not like it. Anyways, yeah, so I lived through the 4E era, and again, there wasn't YouTube, but there was Gleemax and Gleemax and forums and in EN World and stuff. And if that was hyperbolic back then, I cannot even stress to you how ultra hyperbolic any reports of D&D's demise or death is. It is clickbait through and through. The unbelievable vast majority, overwhelming number of players are still playing 5th edition, and they will continue to play 5th edition, and they don't care, and they probably don't even know about any of this stuff. So it's just, you know, yeah. That was a long rant. Sorry. I'm so glad I got off the WotC train long ago. I mean, to be clear, I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to say like you don't like corporate practices, but I mean, there's a lot of products and things that you probably use that are created by corporations. I mean, obviously people have a very strong attachment to D&D, and I mean, if somebody makes something good, I'm going to buy it. That's like full stop. I mean, you can, you know, certainly you can vote with your dollar and you can make moral choices with your money, and that is totally acceptable and in fact even encouraged. But at the end of the day, I mean, if somebody creates a product and I like it, generally speaking, I'm going to buy it unless I have like deep personal qualms about doing so. Here's the crazy thing. You want to hear the hot take? This is the hottest take of all time. You ready? Because it's late night and I don't give a fuck. I didn't care about the OGL debacle. I mean, you probably knew that if you watched Roll for Combat, but I didn't care about the OGL debacle. You know why? Because it was their fucking game. They were nice enough to let people use it. It's their game. You know? I mean, you know how many people, like, I mean, Paizo just took 3rd edition D&D. They just took the 3rd edition rule set. They made some minor tweaks. They created combat maneuver bonus, which was always a thing, by the way. It was just called the grapple bonus. They made combat maneuver defense, which was always a thing. It was just, you know, your touch plus your whatever. And they codified it, and they made this whole game system off of the work of Jonathan Tweet and Monty Cook and Rich Baker and Skip Williams, right? And they just printed that. And so many people just took what D&D made, and then they just ran roughshod with it. Now, am I saying that Wizards of the Coast handled that well? No, but I'm also saying, you know what? It's their game. They could do it. They could do whatever they want with it. They didn't owe you anything. So that's my hot take. I don't think that, you know, a for-profit game company that gave away their game for free for 25 years, you know, is a villain because they wanted to tighten that shit up. You know, that's what it comes down to. And I kind of thought that stuff like, you know, there was the other one. I obviously I remember the Orc, you know, everyone coming out with Orc, you know, the Orc license, and then there was a different license, and everyone's coming out with these new licenses and like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then as sort of a, you know, people are like, oh yeah, we got him. We caught him, you know, and Wizards of the Coast was like, fine, whatever. OGL back, and we'll even release it into Creative Commons. So now it's more free than ever. So I don't know. I'm just imagining any other situation where like somebody is like, hey, I made a thing and I want to, you know, kind of control access to certain elements of it. And, you know, people are like, no, you don't own it. The community owns it. No, the community doesn't own D&D. You know who owns D&D? Wizards of the fucking Coast and Hasbro. That's who owns D&D. No, it's owned by the community. Nope, it doesn't. Do you get a dividend? Do you get a check? Do you own WotC stock? Then yeah, maybe I guess you do own a percentage of D&D, but you don't own D&D. Sorry. I bought a book once. You know, all these people bitching about the OGL, I bet you half of them, maybe even more than half of them, have like never bought a D&D book, right? They've always just, you know, used freeware copies or SRD copies, and, you know, they are a non-entity in this equation. It's just crazy.
Here for Derek doing hot takes on RPG lore.
I mean, look, I am not a lawyer, right? The legalese of it is beyond me. I don't pretend to understand it. I don't know if they were in some sort of, what's the word? You know, tort or whatever. Some sort of violation of something. I don't know. That's not what I'm getting into. I'm not getting into the actual specifics. I'm just saying there were so many people who were more than happy for so long to just make their money selling their PDFs and their little micro games on Drive-Thru RPG or DM's Guild or whatever, and just making their money, and you know, I don't know, it's just crazy. You know, I don't know. And then, and you know, so again, you know, it reminds me, I wonder how much the people who are complaining, because this is sort of, you know, the people leading the pitchfork and leading the charge. And by the way, remember this again. You know, I don't talk about politics on this channel, but I'm very liberal. I'm kind pretty anti-capitalistic. You know, I'm a Democrat. And you know, so I don't really get into the political elements of this channel, but I think it's kind of suspect that the people who seem to really be riling people up about the OGL drama were all people who had made probably a not inconsiderable amount of money selling 5e products, right? That they got away with selling because of the open game license, and they didn't have to pay any fee for. So it to me, it's kind of a biased messaging when the people who are profiting off of this zero cost structure suddenly were the ones kind of riling everybody up and calling for boycott and trying to get Wizards of the Coast to turn back on this. This is a betrayal of the community. Is it a betrayal of the community, or is it a betrayal of you? You know? So, and the other thing is, you know, full stop, I fully believe that, you know, company are free to do whatever they want. But as a consumer, the only time I get concerned as a consumer is when the company is what I would consider to be a vital service, or, and that doesn't necessarily mean like, you know, food, shelter, healthcare. I mean, like even things that like really, you know, are part of everybody's day's life, and there isn't an alternative, right? We would call this a monopoly, right? If I'm the only person who makes, you know, this software or provides this kind of service, then, and this service is you know, kind of required, like, do you need a cell phone? You know, no, but yeah, you kind of do. I mean, in today's society, I would consider that to be a vital service. If there was only one cell phone company, you know, that would be a problem if they started controlling access to it. But here's the thing. There's a lot of fucking RPGs. There's so many RPGs. There's so many better RPGs. Like, what? Who cares? This is not, you know, that you want to go fight against the oligarchy. You want to go protest, you know, unlawful imprisonment of American citizens. Thumbs up, triple thumbs up, octuple thumbs up. Go do it. Stop it before our country, you know, becomes consumed by, you know, fascism. But not D&D. D&D is just one game out of thousands. Just so many thousands. It's like, it's so not important. And then even outside of all of that, because we all know this is true, we all own like enough games to, like, you know, even if you only own D&D stuff, you hell, I don't even have that much 5e stuff. But if I look back on my board, and some of my stuff's in a box, I've got Tales from the Yawning Portal, I've got Through the Abyss, I've got the White Dragon one, I've got the Saltwater Marsh one. Okay. I have enough material probably to play D&D 5th edition for the next, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years. I don't even know. And that's assuming I don't ever actually want to, you know, create something of my own and make something, and, you know, the way that people used to do it. If I just want to use published products. So all of this stuff was already made. And you already owned all of it. Okay. What are you getting so mad about? You know, it just seems so crazy to me. Now, you know, and I say this, I know there's comments, and I will catch up to this. I'm sorry about this. I know there's comments, but I say this as someone who just got in the mail today a box of 4 Roll for Combat shirts, because I'm going to PAX East next month. I'm going to work the booth with Mr. Clicker, right? And he's going to take care of me, fly me out. You know, I'm going to hang out with him for a weekend. You know, for a 4-day weekend. I got nothing going on. I said, sure, I'll come help. I love Glicker. I love his takes, and I love all his things. But let's be very clear here. the people who are making a big deal about this benefited because, number one, they benefited from the OGL being free. So they had a very much of an incentive. What's that line from Littlefinger that he tells to Sansa, and then Sansa tells it back to him at the end of Game of Thrones, where he goes, sometimes I like to play a little game where I ask myself, like, what's the worst thing that a person could be doing, right? Sunhawk, what's up?
Sunhawk tipped $25. FF1, here we come. Hope for tactics advanced at some point.
Hell yeah. Side tangent. FF1, it's gonna happen, and Sunhawk is reminding me that it does. The thing is, I want to, and by the way, I say I want to. My audience, you folks, my patrons, are basically demanding that I get set up to dual cast on YouTube and Twitch. And the main reason is because a lot of my viewers are like, hey, dude, I get that you're hard up, that you lost your job. I love that you're doing this. Maybe I don't have the money to, throw you $5 a month or $10 a month. I totally respect that. They're like, but I do have Amazon Prime, and I do get this free Twitch sub every month that I literally don't use. I would love to give it to you, but you have to be an affiliate on Twitch. So part of what I want to do but I've always felt weird going to Twitch as a TTRPG talking channel. So part of the reason I just literally wanted to play Final Fantasy 1. I used to play it all the time, like every year or two, I would replay it, and I just haven't done it since COVID. So I was kind of jonesing for it, and I was talking about, like, when will I ever have the time to play Final Fantasy 1? Well, then I lost my job. So now I have plenty of time to play it, and then everyone's like, oh, you should stream it. So now that gives me an excuse. Like, I feel like, okay, now I can go into Twitch with that, because that is it's a video game, and I know Let's Talking or Just Talking is the number one thing, but that's terrible to me, and I think Twitch should be about games. Anyways, so I'm gonna play games on Twitch, try to get affiliate partner status, and then if you have an Amazon Prime sub and you want to throw it my way, give me a little bit of support each month, I would appreciate that. And that might only be an extra couple $100 in my pocket, but when I'm not making that much money, a couple $100 is a pretty good deal. All right, thank you, Sunhawk, for that. So back to my tangent. The people who were making a big deal about this were, number one, people who were publishing under the OGL. So they had every financial incentive to not want there to be tighter controls or commissions or fees or anything like this. And then the second thing is that these people were also benefiting tremendously from the views that were coming in from these from this drama. And I don't think I'm spilling tea here, but let's pick a YouTube Ronald, right? Ronald the Rules Lawyer. Love him. I think he's awesome. He's one of the truly genuine people out there in the universe, right? What the heck is the name of his channel? There we go. Jeez, what's going on? Why is Social Blade being terrible? All right. I'll look up NoNat because there we go. Okay. Sorry. It took me a minute there. So let's take a look here at okay. So let's take a look here at NoNat. Now, of course, I believe NoNat was working on a, and again, I don't know NoNat. I mean, he seems like a totally reasonable person, but NoNat was working on a 5e book, right? Like some sort of alchemist guide or something like that. Now, I mean, look at this is his monthly gained subscribers. Okay. And you can see that he was, in the 800 to 900 per month range. And then in January and February of 2023, he gained 14 or 15,000 subscribers in January, and then he gained another 4 or 5,000 in February. And that, that's real numbers. If we translate that to views, okay, look at this. He was getting 200,000. I don't know how well you guys can actually see this. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit so you can see this. He was getting 200,000 views total from his entire channel per month. 200, 220, 218. So I'll do the math on that for you. That's probably a little less than $1,000, give or take. That's what he's making from ad revenue sense. So this doesn't include any sort of brand endorsements, ad reads that he does like on the channel, these sponsored video, or obviously his Patreon. All right, so but that's cool, and I think most people would be like, wow, $1,000 a month for me. I mean, case in point, I don't make that, for my YouTube channel. I make like $400 or $500 a month for my YouTube channel from AdSense. So he's doing $1,000 a month. Most people would say you can't make a living off $1,000 a month. And then the OGL debacle happened, and he got 1.5 million views in a single month. That's like 8,000. That's like $8,500. Okay, a month. That's real money, right? That's a job, at that point. That's a career at that point, right? When you're making $1,000 a month off your YouTube channel, it's like, oh, this is a fun little side thing that I do for whatever. And then you get 1.5 million, and you go, oh shit, I could really make something of this. And all these YouTube creators, I mean, I've talked to a lot of them too. I didn't talk to Nonat, but I talked to Steven, and I talked to Rules Lawyer, and a lot of people kind of thought like this was going to be the new normal. And it wasn't. It was just the drama. But again, there's a reason why they made 75 videos in 3 months, because everybody was so hyped up about it. It made them a lot of money. It made them a lot of money. So yeah. And Night's Last Call didn't make a single one. I didn't care, and I didn't want to talk about it. So there we go. Lope, where is Neverland, Wonderland, and Oz TTR? Everywhere. I think it's available like in most mainstreams. You can get it off of Amazon. You can get it off of Drive-Thru. You can get it off of Barnes & Noble. I think you can find it anywhere. Like anywhere, right? I mean, there you go, buddy. I mean, $25 on Amazon, $19 on Amazon, $26 on Amazon. It's all right there. Not that difficult. I mean, maybe you don't want to buy it off Amazon. I could appreciate that. But if you do buy it off Amazon, we have our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. Go ahead and use it. It doesn't cost you any extra money, but I get a couple bucks. Yeah, a lot of D&D content creators really leverage the D&D as a culture, not a product rhetoric to rile up their fan base. And here's the thing. Role-playing games, TTRPGs, is a culture. D&D is not. D&D is a product. And since nobody has the rights to TTRPGs, I didn't care. I missed this. Derek, hot tub stream on Twitch when, side tangent. When I did have my job and I was looking to buy a new home. And one of the reasons, by the way, I wanted to buy a new home. I'm not even, what do the kids say? No cap. I wanted to buy a new house that was, and one of the reasons it was taking me so long is because I wanted to find, it was a bigger house than I needed. The reason is I wanted to recreate the Knights of Last Call studio. It's crazy, but I loved having that studio. It just made no financial sense for me to have it as a separate space that was going to cost me over $2,000 a month, when that is about what the channel makes. Some months less. So, anyways, I wanted to have a house because I wanted to be able to do that. But the other reason I wanted to have my own home that was, not my condo. I own my condo, but it's a condo. kind of a glorified apartment. I wanted a hot tub. I love hot tubs. I love hot tubs so much. I love them for relaxation. I love them for, both for like physical, like, oh, I'm working out, I'm sore. It just is. I love the jets and the hot water, the foam, the fuzziness of the water. Love it all. But I also just love it as just a great way to just relax and hang out with people, and on a nice night. It's beautiful. So thank you, Lugs. That'd be sick. Sweet, William. Well, this is what I was hoping for. Again, this wasn't my idea. Let me, Derek is terrible at business, and everyone will tell you that. Mark, if Mark's here, he will tell you that. Mark T is here, he'll tell that I'm terrible with business. So it was never my idea to do this. My patrons were literally like, dude, why aren't you on Twitch? We all have Amazon Prime subs. We could be giving them to you. And I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I don't do video games. They're like, dude, you don't have to do video games to be on Twitch. I was like, my personal feelings are that I need to be doing some sort of video game for me to be on Twitch. And Final Fantasy 1 is going to be my bridge to do there. What's up, Jake? We are just shooting the shit, my friend. Ronald's great. I think Ronald's amazing. I did a sketch with him once where we were kind of like talking about how like people were like playing 5e, and then we like came up with a bunch of house and it was like a way to like trick them into playing PF2 like by like coming up with a bunch of house rules, but it was really just the rules to Pathfinder 2. And I got to be like Karma, you can appreciate this. I was like the car oppy min-maxy wizard character, right? I don't know if everybody see that comic? It got animated, and we did like some voice acting for it. There was like I think Swing Ripper was in it, maybe Ronald was in it. He was the GM. We had that one girl, like there was an up and coming channel, but I think they just blew up. They were called like Fathpinders. They were like a brother and sister out of Utah, and the girl did it. Brett, I think, was her name. She was great. She was great, like great voice acting. Yeah. Well, Jonka was just Nonat. Everybody blew up. I mean, I could show you that chart for Nonat, Ronald. I could show you that chart for Roll for Combat. I could show you that chart for a lot of people. Even 5e creators surged on. The more OGL videos you did, the more views and more subs you got. Which is great. Hey, Mark. Oh, there's Mark. 98% of all TTRPGers don't care about the OGL or any of the controversy and love playing 5e D&D. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think there's even people who maybe once cared, but people have really, bowed out because they just like, you guys have made me not care. Lope, I don't think, Lope, let me tell you something. If nobody here has heard of Oddsoot, this is a pretty eclectic group of people. I mean, the wall behind you is not all the RPG books I own, and it's not even all in frame. If I don't know what Oddsoot is, and assuming it's some sort of role-playing game, that is saying something. It must be very, very, very niche. Maybe TTRPGs were never meant to become a lucrative industry to be milked of every last possible dollar. Well, Lugs, I mean, TSR was trying to do this in the 80s. They were trying to do it in the 90s, and then Wizards of the Coast bought them, and probably Wizards of the Coast wasn't trying to do it with 3rd edition. 3rd edition was truly a pure edition because Wizards of the Coast bought TSR because they loved Dungeons & Dragons, and Wizards of the Coast was privately owned, and Peter Atkinson was making so much money with Magic the Gathering that D&D was a rounding error. Even at the time, do you know that the 3rd edition book, the Player's Handbook, was $20? The hardcover was $20, and you could get a slipcover of all 3 of them for $50. Monster Manual, Dungeon Master Guide, Player Handbook. That reminds me of something. I'm just looking. Okay, when did any? Am I the only person? I just noticed this like a couple weeks ago. Now, to be clear, I have called it this my whole life, but the original Dungeons and Dragons was just called the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then they changed it in 3rd edition to be the Dungeon Masters with an apostrophe S, which continued into 4th edition and 5th edition. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know if they just forgot the apostrophe back then, but I was looking at my shelf the other day and I noticed that for the first time, and I was like, I never noticed that didn't have the I didn't know that they had that back then. Anyways, point is, Wizards of the Coast didn't care. 3rd edition was a love letter. They said, here's a bunch of money. Go make a great game. We love D&D. Bring it back from the abyss. And so 3rd edition in that way, 3.0 was a pure edition. Now, apparently, they always knew that they were going to make a 3.5. But when Peter sold Wizards of the Coast to Hasbro, the 3.5 kind of got initiated very early, which is why 3.5 came out in 2003, only 3 years into the 3.0 life cycle. And so, in a sense, 3.5 was kind of a money grab. I know people love it, but it was kind of a money grab. And then 4th edition was clearly a money grab. And then the second most pure version of D&D, in my opinion, is probably 5th edition. Because 5th edition D&D was kind of, quote unquote dead, and Wizards of the Coast was now part of Hasbro, and Hasbro did not care about it at all. And there was nobody working on it, and they basically just said, here's money to make one last final version of D&D, sort of a love letter to yourself. And boy, oh boy, did it catch off like hot fire, I love whenever I get those PF2 creators to agree with me when I say there's no money in PF2. Can confirm, Karama. I've been doing this I started my channel in 2020. So this fall will be 5 years, right? Yep. It'll be 5 years. I started with Pathfinder 2. And obviously we do a lot more stuff now. We don't do much Pathfinder 2 at all anymore these days. But I can confirm. I like to think that I'm was one of the larger Pathfinder 2 influences in the YouTube space. There is no money in Pathfinder 2. Lope, couldn't agree with you more. It's not productive. We don't work at Wizards of the Coast. We're not going to change their minds or anything like that. And you just described my channel. I want to focus on the fun TTRPGs that have been releasing in recent years, which is basically what this channel is all about. Human soup. Delicious. Thing is, Daniel, I'm not taking the hot tub to get clean. I'm taking the hot tub to relax, Kaz confirming that I am bad at business. He's known me for at least 15 years, right, buddy? It goes back. Yeah, it's probably 2008. So yeah, probably like 17 years maybe. I did mention that there's a just chatting category, but I find that completely horrible. Twitch shouldn't even be allowed to be a thing on Twitch. I look tired. It might just be that I have my lights down low. So I also have this I slept on I rubbed my face on something and it got scratched up. It could have been from the dog too. Power Gaming Munchkin, fuck, you got it. Late night stream, let's go, Wojo. Magically Gathering the Cash, and I have given them a lot of money. Because here's the thing. Look at all the books behind you. Okay? Look at all these books. There's a lot of books. This isn't all my RPG collection, right? I used to have another shelf over here, which I took down when I thought I was going to sell my house. So this is none of my 3rd edition books. And my 3rd edition books would take up like 8 of these cells, right? So, you know, on top of everything else. Plus other, all my Pathfinder stuff, all my Pathfinder 1 stuff. My Pathfinder 2 stuff's on here, but all my Pathfinder 1 stuff, I think I own almost everything from Pathfinder 1. That would take up at least 3 or 4 of these cells. So none of that stuff is here. That's in boxes in the storage unit. Because, again, I thought I was going to move when I thought I was going to buy a house. I have spent a fraction on RPGs compared to what I've spent on Magic the Gathering. A fraction. At one time, when I was playing what I would say professionally, in the sense that I was going to like 20 tournaments, 20 professional tournaments, GPs, and most of it, a year, traveling internationally to play Magic the Gathering, but not professionally in the sense that I was like making a living off of it. But at that time, in order to play Standard, usually there were 4 sets of Standard that came out each year. And I would pay my local game store owner anywhere from $700 to $1,000 every time a new set came out. So that on the day that the set released, or sometimes like a day or two before, before the street date, he would give me a 1,000 count, long count box that had 4x copies of every card in the new set. So that's 4 mythics, 4 rares, 4 uncommons, 4 commons. And that was me spending anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a year just so that I could play in Standard tournaments. That's not including the money that I spent on older cards to play in Legacy, Vintage. I mean, at one point in time, my Magic the Gathering collection was worth probably $150,000. So, yeah. I mean, the amount of money I spent on RPGs is a rounding error to the amount that I spent on Magic over the years. $50 in 2000 is about $100 today. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. $100. I mean, I don't know what the slipcover costs now to buy all 3 books from. What did I don't even know what 5e Player's Handbook. How much does it cost? The bundle is $150. So it is more expensive, but but that there you go. That highlights that if 50 was 100 and now they're selling the bundle for 150, that equivalently that was a really good deal. Sly First said 3.0 is the only dead edition of D&D. 2nd edition is pretty dead. I don't think there's anyone who's really playing 2nd edition. There's a couple. I actually know. I know personally one person who's playing 2nd edition D&D. But from a Patreon. But 2nd edition is definitely the dead edition. I love Magic the Gathering. I don't play it anymore because it kind of destroyed my life and it cost me way too much money. The main thing, Lugs, is I don't like playing Arena. I never liked playing Moto back in the day, Magic the Gathering Online, and Arena I like even less. I like playing in paper. I like playing in person. I don't like playing digitally. I just never have, for whatever reason. Depends what kind of day I'm having, Kyle. And Mateo, I think you're absolutely right. I think next hot take. Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I think, is a very solid game. It is designed incredibly well. There's no doubt about that. However, the tagline that Pathfinder 2nd Edition is for everybody is bullshit. Pathfinder 2nd, that Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a alternative to D&D 5th Edition is bullshit. Pathfinder 2nd Edition is at least, maybe not an order of magnitude, but it is at least, 1.5 to 2 times more complicated and complex than D&D 5e. It asks more of its players to be more engaged tactically and with the character building options, to have to sift through a wider net of choices and options, to say nothing if you're using some sort of free archetype variant, which a lot of tables do. It is a much more complicated game, and it is a much more complex game. And so I feel like that, you know, you're kind of doing a bait and switch when you're like, stop playing your 5e game and start playing Pathfinder 2. No, they're not equivalent. Like, I would never tell somebody who really likes the 5e that they should be playing Avatar. Now, obviously, Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a D20 game, so I understand that there's a similarity there, but the complexity level, and I think most people are not looking for a game that is that complex. You know what, Hodop? Stop. 2008 is a year after I was born. Yeah, you're making us feel old. We are doing it. In 2008, I was 26. Yeah, that sounds right. Interesting. I think I may have heard that once, but I don't know that I've ever really followed up on it too much. The worst part about learning about all these new games is that there's zero other YouTube content about even the more popular content like Blades in the Dark. Yeah. Well, it's also kind of a, there's a, what's that saying? I don't want to get it wrong. Complicate to profit. Complicate to profit. Is that the saying? Okay. Simplify to succeed. Complicate to profit. It is apparently attributed to Tim Ferriss, which probably is how I know it. I used to read a lot of Tim Ferriss books, but maybe it's an older saying. But anyways, it's simplify to succeed, complicate to profit. And the fact is that a lot of these other games, there's not a lot to talk about because there's not like a new book of feats and playbooks and classes coming out every 3 months. And the reason why there's a new book of feats and classes and coming out with these games is because you complicate your game to profit. They do this to make money. You know, John Harper created Blades in the Dark, and you know, arguably in like 2010, I know it didn't get published till later, but I mean, it was on Google Plus as a complete game back then. And he literally created his very first thing ever for it. Not just that, not that long ago, a couple months ago, with, you know, deep cuts as his first sort of twist on the game. And it doesn't even like expand the game horizontally. It sort of recontextualizes, rebuilds it in sort of redoes some of the core mechanics of the game. So, you know, arguably he has not profited. So yeah, a lot of these other games just don't have a lot of stuff for people to buy. So there's nothing to talk about. What are you going to talk about? You're afraid to check. I can tell you how much money I've spent on my Steam account. Very little. I think half of the games in my Steam library were gifted to me by Aaron Smith. And I only have like 9 games in my Steam library. Pernicious Deed, Spirit Mongers. Hell yeah, buddy. Good old times. Good old The Rock. The Rock and his millions. Yeah, I'm really behind. Enjoy your work. I've always been a pen and paper guy. This is true. Try to get caught up here. Level 2 Janitor says, good take. Pathfinder 2 is way more niche game than people portray it as. Absolutely. It is. It really is. Yeah, I mean, Karama, it's hard the same way 4E is hard. You have to think about the game part of the game. 100% agree. Absolutely. The game asks you to play it. And that's not everybody. You know, that's not everybody want. Todd says, I easily converted players to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but getting them to try non-fantasy, non-tactical combat, other systems, is like pulling teeth. Yeah, I mean, Todd, honestly, that's a lot of people. A lot of people are like, you can have my minis and my grid and my, you know, top-down VTT out of my cold, dead fingers, right? And you can pry them out. Falling asleep to the vibes. Welcome back, KC. It's a gamer's version of D&D. I think that's accurate. And that's Indiana, I think that's a fair assessment as well. You know, they're not necessarily getting the most out of the system because of the complexity. You love it, but you are the nerd of the group, which is usually also the case. I went with 13th Age, and it's still too complicated for them. Yeah, 5e, you know, whether they intended to or not, it really, you know, they obviously the game is hugely popular for a reason. So absolutely, Mateo. I mean, I have seen children pick up Dragonbane because Dragonbane and games like it, but Dragonbane in particular, I've seen Bob's kids play it because you have one action. What are you doing this turn? You get one thing, right? Fabula Ultima is the same way. You get one action. Go do it. And you're like, no, I need 5 actions. Like, nope. You get one. You just get one. You just get one action. And it turns out that's really simple and easy. I mean, to be fair, Shadram, that's most of what my channel has been, right? Is talking about how to GM and the structure of these games and how they're different and blah, 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 blah. But could I imagine going through the Blades and Dark playbook like 5e creators go through the classes? Yes, but no. Like, I've actually thought about going through the Avatar playbooks because I really want to like show how the mechanics of the class support the pre-installed narrative arc or idea, right? Because some of those playbooks, right, are trying to, you know, recreate or emulate some of your favorite characters from the show or comic. And so there's, you know, there's kind of Easter eggs, call outs to the other characters for the show. But a lot of times the mechanics and the moves that you can take from those playbooks are all part of exploring the principle duality of you have in terms of the conflict of your balance. And I think that's really, really interesting. Now, it's not like an optimization perspective. It's more of like looking at the mechanics of the class and how does this enforce the or support the idea that the playbook is in you know, that is inherent to the playbook. Well, that's sick. Forza Dark play by post. Cool. Very cool. Magic the Gathering definitely does not feel like Magic anymore. It's, you know, Magic has become self-referential at this point is how I would describe it. It's no longer, I mean, Magic the Gathering was originally referential to essentially D&D. Elves and dragons and wizards and knights. It was D&D in card game form. So it was always kind of referential. It was just referential to D&D. Now it's referential against itself, and it does change the feeling of it. Now that I have more time, do I have time to free up that 4E ticket game? I mean, if I ever did, it would be now. Karama, step 1, I do have to figure out how to make a living out of this, or if I can. But you know, as I sort of get more comfortable with my time and figure out where I can use my time, I'm really hoping to run more games. Possibly 4th edition. Again, my hesitation has been that I don't know how good the VTT implementation is of it, but yeah, I mean, it could be pretty good. Could you name a list of TTRPGs that I think are niche? Everything that isn't like D&D, Call of Cthulhu, or Pathfinder 2? Like, I mean, once you get down past those 3, I mean, you very quickly get to a point where, like, even people who are like, I play 5 RPGs, you know, I play 5 games of D&D a week. And you're like, cool, like, what's your favorite John Harper game? And they'll go, who's John Harper? You know, like, hey! Hell yeah. Thank you, Jealous Shots. Welcome to the adventure. Thank you so much for that. That's sick. Thank you. Good deal. Welcome. Enjoy the fun little emojis, and thank you for supporting us. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. And it looks like you have a Dragon Tales logo, and that's pretty cool. But if they answer Aegon, you know you have a new friend for life. Oh, what would be my favorite John Harper answer? Actually, for me, it would be World of Dungeons. World of Dungeons would be my favorite John Harper game that they could answer that would make me they're my friend for life. Danger Patrol, because I don't even know if you can easily find Danger Patrol for. I can give you the link for it, but I don't know if you can go for it. So Danger Patrol, that would be my answer, just because that would prove how hyper niche you are. I'm the kind. Listen, let me. There's no shame in that, janitor. There's no shame in that whatsoever. Because I'll be honest with you, 95% of the RPGs I've ever played and will ever play are fantasy. And you know what gets me really excited? What if this game is like it's the fantasy game that I've been waiting for my whole life. Every time. I'm usually disappointed. There's a reason they call them heartbreakers. Sci-fi is cool. Horror, whatever's cool. Modern, I don't think modern's cool. All those things are cool. But man, wizards and knights and dragons and elves are fucking amazing. And I love Tolkien and I love Earthsea. And, that's just, and I love Conan the Barbarian, and that's just the way it is. And so I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. 5e is by far, well, the fundamental mechanic of 5e though is very simple. I think people don't, roll d20, get high. I mean, that is fundamentally the core element of D&D. And I mean, sure, there's all that other stuff around it, but there are much more complicated games with much more complicated, nuanced components. I mean, look at Powered by the Apocalypse. Powered by the Apocalypse, every move has its own unique resolution table, essentially. Now, World of Dungeons doesn't, because World of Dungeons only has one move, which is essentially defy danger, genericized to power the whole system. But Avatar, very complicated. And it's like, it's a narrative game. What about, it's not even about bending combat. It's about feelings and balance. The shit Avatar's actually about. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think 5e is pretty simple in that respect. The GM advice rooms are what bring you back to KLC every week. Well, Jodram, they're always there. They're always going to be coming. I mean, honestly, it's tough for me. Sometimes I would love to know more about what people would love to hear from me, because I think having, some feedback about the kind of stuff that people are struggling with gives me an input, because at this point I've been giving GM advice for, 4 or 5 years. I'm like, I don't want to just repeat myself, at a certain point. So there's sort of a feedback loop there for myself. Jake, I'm going in on Final Fantasy, buddy. See, I could bitch about Universes Beyond, and I have, and I could bitch about the 500 secret layers a year, and I have, and I could bitch about premium products, and I have, but I'm gonna buy Final Fantasy because that shit's tight. I mean, it's amazing. I love Final Fantasy. I love Magic. I love Final Fantasy. The cards look cool. The art looks amazing. The mechanics look so much fun. I'm gonna draft it. It's gonna be amazing. Am I gonna go play Standard? No, but am I gonna draft it? Yes. And I'm going to have fun with it. I'd probably buy a box or two and just keep it away so that I can maybe bust it out a draft at some point in the future. Hell yeah. Well, you succeeded because I got it right away. You've done, Karama's talking about 40. I've done a lot with side and running the Dungeon Delve on Saturdays. It's not out of the box ready to use like Pathfinder 2, but a little code here or there makes this. Yeah, it's the little code here or there that I'm like naturally kind of, in the past, I've been very knee jerk about, because I'm like, I don't have time to do that. But now I do have more time. So that's something. Yeah, I mean, a lot of Free League games are pretty niche. I mean, the One Ring is freaking the Lord of the Rings game, and it's still very niche. MCDM Draw Steel is definitely going to. It's going to be okay, but it's probably not going to make my table. That's the truth. It's probably not going to make my table. Like there might be some interesting things from it that I want to take, but I just feel like what Matt Colville wants out of an RPG is very different than what I want out of an RPG, and I think that that's going to come through in the game design. So, yep, Cal, just a completely random stream. Well, we didn't stream tonight. I was busy. I was helping my mom out a little bit, and then the time had gotten away from me. And I had said earlier in the day on the Discord that I wasn't going to. We were like 50-50 for the stream, but I was like, well, I'll probably do a late night stream, and so I got home at like 10 o'clock, and I was like, all right, let's fire this baby up. Now that sounds like a heartbreaker. 4E meets Sentinel Comics Fantasy. This sounds cool though. There's a lot of mechanics to like in that Sentinel Comics book. Big number, good. Very simple. It's very, very simple. Yeah, roll D20, get a high roll. I'm liking this resolution system. Yeah, it's actually very simple. I mean, in that respect, right? 5E, but 3E really is simpler than D20 than AD&D Second Edition or First Edition, because in AD&D Second Edition and First Edition, sometimes you did want to roll high with your D20, right? Like when you were making an attack roll or a saving throw. But those game systems, especially Second Edition AD&D, had the idea of the ability check. And the ability check was roll a D20, but you had to roll equal to or under your character's ability score. So now you wanted to roll low. So AD&D Second Edition especially had this roll low sometimes, roll high sometimes. Third Edition and Fourth Edition and Fifth Edition, really, really simplified that into the D20 system with, DCs go up, add bonuses good, subtract penalties bad, roll number, high equals good, low equals bad. There you go. I have checked out some of the Dungeon World 2 updates. There's a new update. Aldark posted there's a new update today, the third one. I have checked about them. And I said I should do a stream about them. And it probably wouldn't be like a late night stream. But the answer is people are upset. I understand why. They are exactly doing what I thought they were going to do. They're exactly doing what I would have done if I was making Dungeon World 2, which is why it's not popular. Because, of course, if I was going to do something and I think something's cool, it probably means it's a terrible decision from like a audience, financial, popularity perspective. Because naturally what I want out of a game is very different from what other people want out of the game. Case in point, I think Avatar is like the coolest PBTA game of all time, and most people absolutely can't stand it. Oh, God. It's gonna be Sunhawk. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that I lost my job, because if I didn't lose my job, I would have spent so much money on Final Fantasy and what is pretty much confirmed at this point to be Avatar: The Last Airbender set at the end of the year. But now the bad news is that I don't have a job and I'm still going to spend money. So I'm like, no. What's up, AGM? Good to see you. Good to have you here. I regret backing MCDM and that other D20 streamer game. I probably mean DC20. Probably. Colville has a very strong, almost stubborn direction that I think a lot of people won't agree with. I'm interested to try it, but I'm not sure I'll be at the table. It's kind of the gist that I was getting to and getting around as well. I like Colville. Actually, I like most of his videos. I think most of his takes. So that means like 60% of his takes are good. I think 40% of his takes are bad. I think like 30% of his takes are bad. I think 10% of his takes are awful. But sometimes I think he has too much of a writer in him, and I don't like that. I feel like there's a pressure from him to kind of railroad a little bit. GeoRock, what's up? Always a great time to talk about RPG. There's always a great time talking about TTRPG. Cheers to the late nights. Yeah, buddy. Thank you. I love it. I like being up late. I mean, obviously I don't want to be up late every single night. It's cool. One of the things I'm really excited to do is maybe do a little bit later shows, maybe nicer for people on the West Coast, or maybe even over in Europe, and in the morning, and you can like listen or watch on your way to work or whatever. but also doing more middle of the day shows, which, you know, for me is like noon, which is in the evening in the EU. And I was even talking to our buddy Vin, who's over in Australia, New Zealand. I was like, hey, buddy, you want to get on, like, you know, maybe we can do a 3 a.m. stream for me, which is like a 7 p.m. stream for him in the evening. So we can do some like evening AU, you know, NZ streams, which should be kind of funny. Time is meaningless now, and lunchtime doubly so. KC, I briefly upped my MCDM pledge before going back to PDS, realized I'm probably never going to actually play it. I did not. In fact, actually, strangely, I think like all of us, like me, Bob, Smith, I think we all backed like the physical copy. And I don't know why we did that. We got to listen, I'm not immune to the hype, you know? I can get hyped up. As a resident TC20 aficionado, I must know. I don't know. I assume Hodop is what he meant, but it could have been. There's so many streamers that had something that was like a D20. It could be anything. I think Daggerheart's going to be fun. I don't know. I'm worried they're going to. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'll see it. You know what? I'll see it when I see it. Yeah, listen, Atla, it's not my favorite PBTA. Everyone knows what my favorite PBTA game is. Put it in the chat if you know what my favorite PBTA game is. And I'm sure most of you do. But I do think it is beautifully designed and does an incredible job of capturing the fundamental essence and struggle of what those characters are about in Avatar. And I think to that end, I tip my hat to them. I do think it is an overly complex game for a PBTA game, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I mean, like I'm playing Torchbearer right now. That is a complicated game, right? It's Burning Wheel light, and it's a complicated game. If you watched any of our streams, you know that it's a very complicated game. But I think it's worth it because you get really good results. And that's how I feel about Avatar: The Last Airbender too. I think that it, you know, requires some dedication and focus. It's like 4E in that way, or Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but instead of being focused on the tactical side of the game, of the combat side of the game, the grid-based combat side of the game, it's focused on the character arcs and the character moments and the struggles and the belief or principle dilemmas or dualities that I think is very interesting. So I find those games to be very happy. And that is correct. Horny high school vampires is correct. Although more correctly known as Monster Hearts. Yes, Monster Hearts. Level 2 Janitor, Matt Colville has been very, very upfront about it, as has I can't remember the name of the lead designer. They've been very upfront about it, and they're not trying to be the game for everyone for all things, and I really, really respect that. They could have tried to do that, and they didn't, and I think that's amazing. So, good stuff there. Oh, Dragonstar. Is Dragonstar the one with the fantasy dragon mechs? Or like the mechs versus dragons? Is that Dragonstar? I feel like that's Dragonstar. I could be wrong, but yeah, maybe. Will I make a Northern Reaches character Derek? No. I might run more games. Mind blown. I mean, in the past, I've only ever really... No, I ran like a couple of like, like 3 or 4 hour sessions. I've mostly run raids, at least 1 or 2 a session, or a season. But I probably won't make a character. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. You be up for that 3 a.m. stream? Hell yeah, buddy. We'll get you on too. You know, we'll have a whole Oceania squad. You know. There we go. Right, almost the end of work. You know, you're getting out a little nice last call. Perfect. 6:20. See, it's morning over in Europe. The Europeans are getting up. going on, Zarzan? The only game you feel hyped for is TBE. I backstarted. I kickstarted TBE, and I will enjoy reading the book. I will say that. I will enjoy reading TBE the same way I enjoyed reading Against the Dark Master. And I'm like, this is so cool on paper, and my God, I would hate to play this game at the table. That's how I basically feel about those games. Cool to read, and maybe there's a world where I'm that person, but I'm not that person, so I'm not that. The problem with all these 5e but better Kickstarters is that most people would rather just play 5e. As an advanced 5e fan, I know it very much. James Introcaso, that's it. He seems pretty cool. Dorky in a good way. Oh, you're right. That was Dragon Mech. Then I don't know what Dragon Star is. Dragon Mech is the one I was thinking of. Someone that reminds me. I think I heard someone dropped out of the Torchbearer Saturday group. That is correct. Actually, we had 2 people drop out over different time periods, and we had one person who was in the waiting wings and who came in and replaced it. So that is true. But we'll see. I right now I don't have anybody who is queued up. When the first person dropped, we had someone waiting in the wings to fill in. But I don't know. I mean, I might just if I don't find someone, it's fine. The game works fine with 3 people, 4 people. It's totally fine. TBE is the Broken Empires. It is the game from Trevor. Me, Myself, and Die is the name of his channel. It's his hyper. It's like him taking like elements from like Delta Green, Warhammer Fantasy. What's the other game he stole from? It's like a bunch of D100 games, and he's kind of like combining them in various capacities and taking various. I think it's like Delta Green, Warhammer Fantasy, maybe some Harnmaster, Ars Magica. Oh, right. The spellcasting is very Ars Magica. Yeah. Which is, I mean, he's very unapologetic about that as well. You know, he's like, I love these 7, 8 games, and I love this system, and I love this system, and I love the way that this system does dice, and I love the way this system does dice, and I'm just going to steal all of them and put them into my own game. And, you know, sprinkle a little bit of my own magic on there as well. Sick. Why you up, Keith? Because I don't have a fucking job and I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow. What about you? The only thing, in fact, you know what? Glicker's great. You know, from our Roll for Combat. You know, he basically is like, "Hey, you're not doing anything tomorrow. You're gonna be on my show." And I was like, "Yeah, you got me. I don't have anything to do tomorrow. I'll be on your show." So I'll probably sleep in. You know, I'll probably wrap up here, and maybe I'll have like a late night sandwich and then go to bed and wake up at like 10 or 11 a.m. and brush my teeth and walk the dogs and maybe do some laundry, grab a coffee, head back home, hop on Roll for Combat, hop off a Roll for Combat, go to the gym, play racquetball, maybe get dinner with my buddy. I don't know. I'm exploring the space, Keith. I'm exploring the space. You know, it's also partially me being in denial, but you know, it's all right. It's cool. We'll make it work, Keith. We'll make it work. Any alternity enjoyers here? I liked the original. So here, Lugs, I'll say this. Oh, we had a super chat. I'll get to the super chat in a second, Viniana. I just want to finish up. I thought, I don't know if it's on my shelf. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. I thought Alternity was very cool. And when it came out, I was really excited about it. And it was like, this was like a cool sci-fi game. And I did actually think it was really cool. However, I do think that this is like one of the coolest campaign settings of all time. I think Star Drive, I think the world of Star Drive, the tech of Star Drive, I mean, Richard Baker, you know, obviously anybody who knows Richard Baker, you know, knows that he's like, a Star Wars sci-fi goat. But, while Alternity was cool, Star Drive was like the bomb. This was awesome. Big fan of that campaign setting. I'd probably be more likely to like take Star Drive campaign setting and like play it with something else, possibly. Big, huge super chat and super awesome shout out from Vindiana Jones. Love the late night chill stream. Sick. My biggest TTRPG struggle is having so many games I want to try. Partly your fault. I'm a victim of my own success here, Vindiana, as well. And having a group of friends that doesn't like to experiment, I want to play them all. Well, Vindiana, there's no perfect solution. And I certainly understand the desire to want to play all these games. But let me caution you. Let me say a couple of things to you. First, Platinus says, Vindiana, if only there was an online group of people who like to try new games. All right. So Platinus is doing a great job of bringing up the first point, which is that the Knights of Last Call, as a Patreon, we are pay, right? You have to be, you have to pay to be in our, we don't have a public Patreon. And part of the reason for that is to be exclusive. It's to be a gatekeeper. It's true. And not like in a bad way. It's that when I want people to be in our community, I want mostly people in our community who are interested in playing something that isn't just D&D. And that's fine if you come in, you want to play Pathfinder 2 and you want to play Call of Cthulhu, that's totally fine. But for the most part, most people in our community are GMs or GM adjacent and are very interested in playing, and learning and trying to play new games. So Vindiana, definitely checks out Knights of Last Call. And if you haven't already, because it can be a really cool place to find people to play games. In fact, the number one problem that we have in our Discord is that we have more people who want to run games than we have people who want to play them.
Lawful chaotic neutral tip $3. Euro friendly stream.
All right. Well, for starters, Lawful Chaotic Neutral, that's a great name. Thank you for the tip. It's awesome that you were able to join in. See, we were talking about, like, look, we can make more Euro-friendly streams. I'm going to do more, like, noon streams, so it's more like, 7, 8 p.m. for you guys, not just the morning. So, yeah, time is irrelevant now. But I do want to address Vindiana's comment by saying, yes, thank you, Platinus. Knights of Last Call is a great place to play. And in fact, like I said, we have so many GMs and people who want to try and run new games that, like, you can only play in so many games. And so you have all these GMs who are like, hey, I want to play this game. I want to do this game. I want to do one shot of this. I want to do a 3-shot of this. I want to do a mini campaign of this. And, we don't have enough people who will play because everyone wants to run a game. So we do kind of need players in a certain sense. But the other thing is, I get it. I get wanting to play games with your friends because, these games are about it. And not just with your friends, but not online. Online's great. It's allowed me to meet such many incredible, amazing people. I've played games. I mean, one of my favorite gaming moments was when we were playing the Poppet Adventure. I was playing with my best friend and, my two best friends, Bob and Smith. But I was also playing with, Donnie and Damien, who are from the other side of the country, and Vin, who was on the other side of the world. And that was like such a cool moment for me to be playing with all these different people who I would never have had the opportunity to play with before. And that was a really cool moment. But I will say this. That's the only thing I'll say. I think it can be possible to become so hyped up about the quantity of games that you're playing that you lose track of the quality of the games that you're playing. And this is kind of like a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush kind of metaphor, right? A campaign that is actually happening with people who care about it is worth more than 2 or 3 theoretical campaigns that might be better if. And while I certainly understand your struggles, I don't think you should undervalue the power of having players who truly engage and want to be there, regardless of what the system is. That is far more important than the system that you're playing. Now, if you have people who don't want to try and do anything, and they also don't give a shit, okay, that is a legitimate problem. But I think that a lot of people now, maybe because of channels like this, have this tendency now to not want to settle down, and they just want to bounce around from one shot to one shot to one shot to one shot to one shot. So it's like checking off the box. And at the end of the year, they go, yeah, I played 45 RPGs this year. And it's like, great. But did you really have that experience that a role-playing game can give you, or did you just check the box? And so I think that it's important not to confuse quality and quantity in your RPG journey of self-expression. Is that part of my saying? So, thank you, Vindiana. That was very generous of you, and I appreciate the hell out of you for that. What is the best cheese? Great question. Well, I used to be, well, I mean, I like a lot of cheeses, you know. Number one, I'm not a snob. When I get a cheeseburger, I want American on it. Okay. But I like cheddar. I do like a good sharp cheddar. I like Oaxaca and queso fresco from the Mexican variety. A nice mozzarella, fresh mozz is really good. Like mozz, pecorino, a little parmigiano, reggiano on a pizza. That's top notch. But I also like some of the stinkier cheeses. I like blue cheeses. Not all the time. You know, some of them like Camembert. I'm not about those. So, I used to love Swiss, but only on sandwiches. Can't eat it. It's not an eating cheese. I'm going to go with sharp cheddar because I'll tell you this. I can just eat a fucking block of sharp cheddar cheese. Like straight up. In fact, when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I did that. I would go, when I would go grocery shopping, I would buy several blocks of cheddar cheese because, you know, it's a preserved food. That's why cheese exists. Nowadays, I wouldn't trust it for too long. But I would get several blocks of cheddar cheese, and I would get several of those like, you know, pepperoni logs or like summer sausages logs. And I would literally just sit there at like lunchtime, and I would have like a block of cheese in one hand, and I'd have an entire pepperoni log in the other hand, and I would just go, and let me tell you something. At that time in that place, it was like one of the best meals I've ever eaten in my whole life. So I'm gonna go sharp cheddar. Nice cheddar. Have I gotten to the Ben Wyatt spending a week making a 5-second claymation movie? You mean Requiem for a Tuesday? That's a Parks and Rec deep cut. That's the name of Ben's movie, by the way. Thank you again, Lawful Chaotic Neutral. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll be doing more stuff here. That being said, I have really wanted to master the art of baguette baking, and I've never really had the time, and now I feel like I'll have the time to make, you know, a couple dozen loaves to try to get my baguette skills up. That's sick. Indiana, we'd love to have you. Right. I know you are also, you're on the East Coast like me, but you have a very odd schedule as well. But again, my natural tendency is to be late. In fact, a lot of my patrons will be like, Derek, why are you still up? Isn't it like 3 a.m. there, 2 a.m. there? I'm like, yeah, like I should have been in bed. I should have gone to bed hours ago. But a lot of times too, I'll get into bed and be on my phone. And I'm like not a doom scroller at all. I don't even have Twitter anymore. I mean, I haven't had Twitter for a long time. And like, I think I don't go on Instagram. I don't really scroll. Reddit can get me, but it's not really doom scrolling. I'm just engaging with the communities that I'm sub to. I almost only look at subs. Right. And I think, Vindy, and I think that's right. Focus on what you have, right? And not what you don't have. And it's just having a steady group of friends who want to be there, man, that's worth its weight in gold. So a lot of people would kill for just that, you know? Sleepy Time ASMR. Pun is the best cheese. That is a nice circa 2007 deep cut. No, I think Jake, I think people are like, oh, learning a new game is simple. Learning to play a new game badly is easy. And I see a lot of people who play a game for the first time and they get 90% of the rules wrong, or they don't even engage with half of the mechanics in the game because they're like, well, it's our first time, we'll skip that. And then at the end of the game, they go, yeah, it was okay. And I'm like, you didn't even play the game. You didn't experience anything. I love what they say, what Luke and Tor say in Torchbearer, where they say, don't play this game once. You need to play this game 8 to 10 times to really experience the cycles of play, the way the mechanics inform each other, to really experience what this game is bringing to the table. Don't play it once and say, oh, I played Torchbearer. Not true. It's one of the reasons why these the 2 mini campaigns I'm running, one of which is on public YouTube and the other is on private, only for patrons, the 2 games are scheduled to run 8 to 10 sessions because I want the players to have that one complete sleep cycle to say that they literally, got a chance to experience the game. And now you're talking outside of my wheelhouse because I don't know anything about Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Dark Sword or whatever they're called. Aged crumbly cheddar is elite. It sounds like a drunken after party. I don't buy blocks of sharp cheddar. They do not last long. All cheese is ranked. We could do that. Not that deep. All right, hold on a sec. Tier maker, where you at? Oh, tier maker. I have a tier maker account actually, don't I? Yeah. Tier maker. All right, here we go. Jeez. Oh, that's terrible. Come on. Cheese. All right, here we go. All right. All right. All cheeses ranked. All right. So we start. Okay. So we got S, and they say it's the coat, but I think they mean the goat. So we got S tier, A, B, C, D, F, not the cheese. All right. So we got. Well, it looks like we got a blue cheese here. It doesn't have a label, but we got brie, cheese coon. I don't know what that is, but okay. White cheddar, Swiss, Parmesan, Doritos nacho cheese. That's a hot take to have on here. We got mozzarella, Havarti, Gouda. Ooh, Philadelphia cream cheese. Wow. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. This is going to be a hot take. Obviously, I'm going to put cheddar at S tier because I do think cheddar is incredible. Feta's not there, and I do love feta. I could eat like a whole thing of feta too. On a salad, feta is unparalleled. But I don't like white cheddar as much. It's good, but there's something missing from it. I just don't like it as much. I'm not gonna say that like I hate American and that it's terrible. I'm not even gonna say it's D tier. I think American cheese is totally fine. It is what it is. It's processed crap. It's processed. It's fattening. It's probably not real, just like America. Swiss used to be like probably one of my favorites. And it has fallen off a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not, like I really like the baby Swiss, but like regular Swiss just doesn't cut it for me as much anymore. I do like a good blue cheese. I really like a blue cheese dressing that has like for like chicken tenders or wings. That's real good. But it's not something I'm just gonna eat out of hand. Mozzarella, solid beats here. I love a good mozz, shredded, put on pizza and all that other stuff. Same thing with Parmesan. Love it. When they're like, tell me when to stop. And I'm like, yeah, just give me the whole thing. You ever go to Olive Garden? Of course you've gone to Olive Garden. You get the salad, the soup salad and breadsticks. I don't get anything else. I don't even know what they have at Olive Garden. All I know, I haven't been to Olive Garden in a long time though. I just don't really go out to eat anywhere anymore. It's not about an Olive Garden, but you can't beat. I don't know what they cost now, but soup salad and breadsticks. What a deal. But anyways, they come in there with that. I'm like, just keep going, buddy. Just keep going. Just make it cheesy. Take care, Keith. Thanks for stopping by. So pretty good. Brie, don't like it. I don't really like it. It's not that good. Same with Havarti. I'm not actually a big fan of it. And no, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put Brie at F tier. I'm gonna put Gouda and Havarti at D. I'm a big fan. Nacho cheese. Look, again, I'm not a snob. Okay, I don't know about Doritos nacho cheese, but like if we're talking about like the yellow pump stuff that you get with your nachos at a hot, whatever, it's A. That shit elevates everything. I remember going to high school out of middle, coming out of junior high, and at the high school, you could get a cheese cup, right, with your fries. Oh my God. It was like an extra quarter or something like that. I don't remember what it cost, but it elevates everything. Cheese with fries, better. Pretzel with, with cheese, better. Soft pretzel with cheese, better. Nacho chips, you're like, oh, with salsa, you're like, oh, this is nice. What a nice little with cheese. Hell yeah. It's amazing. Philadelphia cream cheese. It's going all of the way to the top. I cannot begin to describe for you how much I love an everything bagel with cream cheese. You could just stop there. But if you go everything bagel, cream cheese, a little lox, right? Maybe some capers, a little red onion, put the other one on top. Fuck, that is fucking delicious. That is so delicious. And cream cheese is just the bomb. And taking a step back, I don't eat it anymore. Not because I swore it off. It just doesn't come up, and I don't make it anymore. But you'll see me. I will pass on a birthday cake. I will pass on I'll pass on cake. I won't pass on pie, but I'll pass on a birthday cake. I will pass on a lot of desserts. It's hard for me to turn down cheesecake. Yeah. Cream cheese is amazing. It's so good. And again, like when you see my bagel, like I'll take a bagel, right? I'll cut it. I'll toast it, and then I'll typically put the cream cheese on, and then I'll put the other bagel on top to make like a sandwich, basically. And sometimes, if I don't have any of the other shit, and a lot of times I don't have the other shit, I only get that if I get a bagel place. But there's so much cream cheese, it's like it looks like a double stuffed fucking Oreo. And it's like I love it. It's so good. It is so good. And I don't know what these other things are, but moon cheese and cheese coon. But there you go. There's this isn't every cheese. If feta was on here, feta would actually be A tier. I actually like feta that much. I love it on, Greek style salads. I pretty much just love it on everything. I think feta cheese is delicious. Pepper jack is my go-to Subway cheese. War. So that is War Historian. Pepper jack is really good. I mean, I think pepper jack is it's just Colby Jack cheese with like little bits of pepper in it, but it is my go-to on Subway. Everything's better with feta. Few things beat a good Greek salad loaded with feta and peppers. Just throw the word olives in there as well, and I am right there with you. I love a good Greek salad. Gorgonzola is a blue cheese, but it's not my favorite. So I would probably say I would downgrade that a little bit. Gorgonzola is a little bit too stinky, even for me. Not as much of it. Too much bite. Lox on bagels with capers and dill, so good. I couldn't agree with you more. So good. One of the best things, I dated a Jewish girl for many years, and her mom was just like the prototypical Jewish mom. And like anytime there was any sort of event ever, even if it wasn't a big deal, you'd go over there, there'd be like such a spread. And there was always lox, bagels, cream cheese, just loaded, locked and loaded, ready to go. And it was so good. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, cream cheese also very, 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 very good. You're saying putting Gouda in D is criminal. You know what? Maybe I need more experience with Gouda. I've had it a bunch, but it's fantastic. Cheesecake. Quest says, my man. Okay. Back brie with jam. Hard disagree on brie. D tier at worst. Oh, okay. I just don't like brie. Okay. Sunhawk saying I need to get the good stuff for the Havarti. Okay. I do enjoy goat cheese. I like I like it on a nice hors d'oeuvres plate. I like the spreadable goat cheese on like a cracker or something like that. I think that's pretty good. Oh, Jackal. You know what's up. You can miss me with all those other soups. Just give me the soup at Toscana. I'm going to take at least 2 bowls of that, plus at least 2 orders of the breadsticks, plus a bag to go home. You know that. Keith, who I think dipped out, says go vegan. I would never go vegan. I could, in a world, I could see myself being a vegetarian, though. I love animals. I could never kill an animal, and I think if I can't kill an animal, then maybe I shouldn't be eating them. Listen, times are tough. I memorized the copycat recipe for Super Toscana. That's fantastic. I love it. The sausage in there and the spinach, so good. I love spinach in a sauce in soups. It's so good. Brian F is just wrong. Give me the stink. I want it in my sinuses. That's fair enough. I mean, Mateo, guilty as charged. Does wolf chili count as soup? What is wolf chili? I don't know if I know wolf chili. It's one of our go-to crockpot meals. You know what? You guys got me hyped up. I might need to go look online and see if I can find some Super Toscana recipes, because it's been a long time since I've had that. And when I used to have it at Olive Garden, I would always tell myself it was way too salty. So I would definitely cut back on the salt. It was way too salty. I mean, everything at Olive Garden was way too salty. But now I'm imagining I master the baguettes. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, the Olive Garden breadsticks are not baguettes. I mean, they are just buttered, slathered, salted bread, which is a fantastic way to eat bread. But the Super Toscana, I want it to be thicker. You know, it was always a little thin. I wanted it to be more spinach, more sausage, more whatever little bits of like white bean or something in there. I don't know, I wanted to be more like a white bean soup with the sausage and the spinach. You know, Jackal, I did. I don't even like to use the term "I did" because I think that it makes it sound like it's like a diet. It wasn't a diet. I was paleo, primal, for a very long time, 4, 5, 6 years. And what I found during that time period is I hated doing all of the low carb sub shit. I'll eat cauliflower. I just didn't want to sub it for things that, you know, like I found like if I was trying to replace the meals that I missed with low carb alternatives, I felt like that made it worse for me. We did not cover this, but I did mention that Huaca and queso fresco are just chef's kiss. Those are really, really good. Oh yeah, I would dig some spice there too. I like a little spicy sausage. Buddy, I'm all in. I'm so in for a cheese tour. I'm so in. Cheddar and all. I love cheddar cheese. I'm sorry. I just do. I just love it. It's so good. It's so good. Oh. So I saw above people were saying that they were, you know, a lot of people were enjoying the Torchbearer game. And we had a couple of people say that, so in the last episode, well, actually for the patrons, they just got Saturday's session number 3 today. But a lot of people said that they had never seen a better, they'd never seen a more tense, a more interesting, a more exciting social combat than what we did in Sunday's session number 3, when the group encounters the elven spirit guardian of the reliquary of the Dragonbone Blade. And people were like, holy crap, that was amazing. I never experienced that. And I was really pleased to see people really responding to that, because I've talked a lot on this channel about like how I think social combat mechanics are misunderstood and misutilized. And I was really happy that that group played very well, and they really highlighted, I think, both sides of what makes that, you know, so cool, which is that you're still role playing, you're still playing the game, you're still describing your character's actions in the fiction. Doesn't necessarily mean you're talking with a funny voice, but we're talking about the fiction. But you're backing it up with mechanics. So it gives the words and the things that you're saying bite and meaning, and I think that's really cool. We do have a maker channel, and I know people have talked a lot about 3D printing, because we have some very active 3D printers. Bob is a very active 3D printer. And yeah, so we definitely have that. We have a channel called Crafting, which should be where you can find that. Eldemon Song Studio recording stream this week. Maybe it's Easter week, and I'm still kind of trying to get my head above water a little bit, but we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely gonna get that stuff done. Going off that stuff. That's sick. Yeah, I like the cheddar sharp. Don't miss me with the mild. Miss me with the mild. I like it sharp. I don't even really know what that means, to be honest with you, but I just know I like the sharp cheddars better. Ooh, nice hot ham and grilled cheese sandwich. Sounds delicious. Also, full stop. There is almost nothing better than a good, high quality grilled cheese sandwich and a nice, delicious bowl of tomato soup. That's so good. Have you already played BG3? No. If not, you have the time now. I have the time now not to play it. Would not enjoy BG3. And I mean, the only way that I would play Baldur's Gate 3 would be if people wanted to like watch me like hate watch me play it and watch me just like have meltdowns and like shit on their game that they love. Pretty much everything about Baldur's Gate 3 disinterests me. So, not saying I'm glad that you enjoy it. People should enjoy the things that they enjoy. I'm just saying I would not enjoy it. I mean, here, you want it full stop. I hate voice acting in games. So like we're already off to a bad start. I don't want my games to talk to me. Like if we play Final Fantasy 1 and it gets pretty good, people are enjoying it. Maybe we'll play another Final Fantasy. Maybe we'll play Final Fantasy 4, or maybe we'd even play Final Fantasy 2 for the NES, which 2 or 3, one of them, I don't remember which one I never played. But we can play 4, which was 2, and the 5, 6. We'll keep playing until we get to the ones where they added voice acting, and then I'm out because I just can't stand it. I absolutely can't stand it. And I hate like these internal cutscenes. Yeah. Jake, preach. I mean, I'm okay with it, I guess, during like, I don't know. Even like Final Fantasy 7, the original Final Fantasy 9, whatever this monstrosity is that they have now. But like the original Final Fantasy 7, they didn't even have voice acting during the full motion video cutscenes. I thought that was great. So I'm weird, I know. Oh, you can't celiacs, yeah. That's tough. Yeah, they probably got gluten-free bread, right? Yeah. But sometimes it's not the same. Step up your baguette game and then make lots of banh mi. Yeah. I got to get my baguette game up first, but I just like taking the baguettes. I like slicing them into little rounds, toasting them, hit them with a little butter. It's not about whether they have great voice acting or not. I just don't like voice acting. So, in fact, if it's great, that's almost more of a shame because I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that this was really good, and I still dislike it. So, Casey says, especially when the voice characters are constantly trying to fuck me, can we focus on the mind flayers and dragon issues first? Fair. I would also have probably a huge problem with that as well. And people are like, Derek, I thought you liked Monster Hearts. That game has a sex move. Yes, but that game is about teenagers in high school that are happen to be monsters, fooling around and being teenagers. Like, it's not a D&D game, so miss me with that shit. I mean, I know that that's literally not the entire game, but I remember seeing all these, like, YouTube clips of all the just, horny BG3 shit. And I was like, I understand. I mean, they're targeting a demo. They're targeting their audience. You know, it's like, and I mean, you know, I understand that stuff was like, you know, kind of hyper contextualized, but you miss me with that, right? You miss me with that. In fact, look at these. Like, I hate every character player being sexual. BG3 is a dating sim with a D&D veneer. My God, the thirst of the BG3 cast. They're too horny. BG3 launched with a bug where all the companions try to get in your pants from the jump. Sure, a bug. Whatever. At least BG3 fixed Gale deciding you're in a committed relationship after the first time you say something nice to him. Yeah. So anyway, I just don't care about that stuff in that context, and I definitely don't care about it in a video game. And I can't even begin to describe for you how much I would, you know. Yeah, but I don't want to ignore it. You know what I mean? When people are like, oh, you could just ignore that. Yeah, I can by not playing the game. It's very simple. You want to read? Go get a book. Kuno's got emotions to sell. I mean, I like books too. I'm actually, truth be told, I've been reread now that I've had time. It's been a long time since I've reread the Silmarillion. So I'm rereading the Silmarillion, right? I'm re-upping my knowledge of the Valaquenta, of the Ainulindale. And I'm like, really want to play like some sort of Lord of the Rings game or something. I never played the Lord of the Rings online game. I mean, the TTRPG would be really cool here, but yeah. Somebody I'm working with, you know, on a project, it was like, oh, Disco Elysium is so good. You know, you got to play it. You got to play it. You got to play it. And I'm like, I just don't like playing video games. Lord of the Rings Online is my favorite MMO. I just worry about what the MMOification of Lord of the Rings would look like. You say it gets the Middle Earth feel perfectly. I mean, Shadram, I'll buy from you, but I remember seeing video clips of that. It was like a Shadow of Mordor or something like that. Like it was like Lord of the Ring. There was like a character who was like this edgy protagonist, and like they were like half wraith, half, you know, Numenorian, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like he had like dark powers, and I was like, this is the most like appropriated thing I could ever possibly imagine seeing. It like I can't even begin to describe for you how horribly awful and irritating that game would be to me. Again, there could be a whole channel. I don't know if there's, maybe there's money in this, but there could literally be an entire thing of like Derek plays, you know, like maybe the new channel, and it's just called Derek Hates Games, or like Derek Hates Video Games. And it would just me be playing all these games that everyone's like, this is a 97% Metacritic rated game. And just me being like, I legitimately hate this thing. I don't like it. Nothing about this is attractive to me. And then like the one thing that I probably would like about the game, everyone would be like, oh, that's the one thing that everybody can't stand. I'd be like, oh, this is the cool part. Like, I like that part. Yeah, you just lost me there. Assassin's Creed Mordor. I'm out. But see, this is what's interesting. First game on Derek Hates Games, Lord of the Rings Gollum. Angry video game nerd vibes. Elia, exactly. So, this is, by the way, not a video game thing. My friends who I play Magic the Gathering with are also like they're also the same kind of group of people I go to Vegas with when I go to Vegas, when I went to Vegas, I guess. I don't know. We'll see if that happens still. But they kind of make fun of me because they love Magic the Gathering, but they don't care about Magic the Gathering. They care about the game. They care about winning and losing, and we play for money, or we play for packs, we play for cards. And I will tell them about how, like, you know, and then they make fun of me because they'll be like, oh, Derek, are you going to play this set? Like, how's the lore lining up? And I'll be like, yeah, like if the game mechanics or the game elements don't integrate well with the fiction of the cards, I'm very uninterested in the set. So it's not enough if it's a good game. They could be like, well, the draft's amazing. The mechanics are awesome. The balance is great. And I'm like, awesome. I don't like the theme, and I don't like the way that the mechanics represent that theme. I'm not interested. And so I'm out. I'm the same way with video games. Like, I can't separate the two from me. You know, like the mechanics and the fiction are very integrated, which is why I like RPG so much, in theory. Yeah, you'd watch Derek play Dark Souls blind, like literally blind, or like going into it knowing nothing. Yeah, probably, KC. Yeah, probably. I mean, to be clear, the RPG, the MMO that I've played most recently is EverQuest 1. So old game issues, I'm down for it. Yeah, I don't know. The video games have just, video games have just really moved on from what I wanted them. Again, I've said this before, but the video games that can still potentially interest me are the games that don't have an agenda. And video games became less about experience, having a unique experience of the game, and more about like going on this carefully curated path that the game designers have carefully laid out before you. And I just became very uninterested in that. Vanilla WoW was sick, Dr. Stevel. I love Vanilla WoW a lot. I didn't actually play. I actually played Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, and I didn't play Wrath of the Lich King, which is what a lot of people said was one of the best, but I didn't play. I came back for Cataclysm, which was okay. But original Vanilla WoW, and like, I thought Burning Crusade was terrible, actually, but one of the reasons I stopped playing and I didn't play Wrath of the Lich King. But nothing will beat EverQuest 1. Love it. There you go, Mateo. I discovered TTRPGs, a couple years after I discovered video games. So for me, it's been kind of, hand in hand for a while. But I just feel like, but TTRPGs have kind of gone the same way as well, right? Like a lot of these games now are very, a lot of these adventures and even the game systems are designed around this idea of like giving you the story experience in a box and kind of making sure that you can hit the checkpoints and follow the breadcrumbs along the way. I know Elia has talked about Crusader Kings before, but yeah, I mean, sandbox type games where there's like really nothing to do, but basically The Sims, but with like actually something to do other than just like, I don't know, have pretend people. It's generally speaking more my game. Like, I only know this game because it's like, it's not even a new game, but like a game that I'm more likely to play than any of these games that you guys have mentioned is Cities Skyline. And like, I don't know if there's like a story mode, but if there is, I wouldn't play it. I would just play, you start with nothing, build a city, go, and play until, I don't know, you're bored and you don't want to play anymore. That is more my style of game. Did I ever play any of the old Bard's Tales games? A couple of them. I was more into like the SSI games. So I was like more into like Curse of the Azure Bonds and Eye of the Beholder, Dungeon Hack, Eye of the Beholder 2, Eye of the Beholder 3, Neverwinter Nights. What was one called? The Gold Box, that type of stuff. DDO was cool for a time and a place, and it was in Eberron, which was pretty sweet. Yeah, I like all of that stuff. Exploring, getting your ass kicked. I don't like the carefully sculpted experience, God, EverQuest was like the worst, but like it forced you to interact with the community and play with people and learn how the game works. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. It will never be recaptured. That's that's just sad, but it is truth. There are some KOLC EQ streams. That's true. We're playing with Bob, who's never played any of them, and he's just losing his mind. I mean, my friend, my ex-girlfriend, who I live with, she loves The Sims. Like, she's put 10,000 hours into The Sims. Yeah, there's a lot of people who really do love that game. So that's cool. That's cool. You should give Amazing Cultivation Simulator a try. But see, this is the difference, though. Like, I still want the fundamental principle to be interesting. Like, I think being like, like those truck driving sims, like that doesn't interest me at all. So I don't know about this Amazing Cultivation Simulator at all. Oh, anyways. Well, anybody have any comments, questions, before we dip out? Maybe somebody has a cool question. It'll take us off in an interesting direction. I've kind of said what I needed to say, I guess. I mean, I really just want to hang out with you all, and a lot of times I'm trying to stay focused on topic and trying to get stuff done, so we don't really get a chance to just talk. I wish I would have had that Manhattan from earlier. Can you imagine it now? It'd be all water, but that's okay. It'd be cold water. I do need to try to drink less diet soda. I'm probably drinking I have coffee, and then I probably have like 3 or 4 cans a day. I really want to get that down, but will you run some Tor 2nd edition after Torchbearer is done? Maybe, Jackal. Maybe. That would be a cool way to do it. I don't think I could get my home group to play it, but it could be something cool to do with the Patreon. Also, I do have more time now, Jackal, so it depends on my availability. I don't want to put myself up on a cross, but that'd be cool. I mean, in truth, part of the thing is if I played the One Ring, I'd want to play it with people who at least respected, if not understood, the source material, because I want it to be a fun experience for me too. So maybe. What are my thoughts on character death? It's great, or it's the worst thing ever, and it should never be in between. That's how I would say it. I don't think character death belongs in most games that have it. And that includes, D&D, Pathfinder 2, and all that other stuff, because they've made your character so difficult to kill that when you do die, it's kind of like, well, what do we do now? And I just don't like that, especially because the game has access to raise dead. So it's like, is death a problem or not? If you have access to raise dead, then why are you so concerned about making death almost a statistical improbability? And then it still does go and occur, and it's just a huge disruption. And then if you have a narrative-based game, which is what most of these games actually are, they're trying to, tell stories and have people live their power fantasies, then why are you killing characters? This is where Fabula Ultima does a much better job of that. But if you're playing a game where, but I also don't like the other side, where people think that old school games mean it's like, ha ha ha, you walk into the room was an illusion. It's actually a grinder, and it kills all of your characters instantly, no saves. I hate that too. So most games are bad. That's the answer. How's that Dragonbane asynchronous game design stuff? Well, Jake, it got obviously shut down when all my life started falling apart. But I have been poking around at it lately more, and I'm sort of trying to kind of maybe debate using Discord bot mini games to sort of give the system a little bit more tooth, so that you have more to do. Not to throw Bob under the bus, but if Bob had his way, downtime, aka the asynchronous game design stuff, would just be like, make a check from your character, Dragonbane checks, right, or D20 roll low under your skill. There's no DC. And he's like, make a check. And then if you succeed, you get 2 resources. And if you fail, you get 1 resource. And fundamentally, that's fine. But like, there's no agency to that. And it's boring. And it would also take you like 5 minutes. And for some people, that might be the majority of the way they interact with the game is through the asynchronous town stuff. And I don't want that to just take 5 minutes of your day. I want it to eat up an hour or 2. Obviously, I don't want it to take a ton of time. If you had a ton of time, you'd probably be playing adventures and going out and slaying dragons or demons. But if you only have an hour or 2 a week to play with the community in the game, I would like to try to at least engage you in that time frame. So one of the problems I have is how do I make the mechanics interesting, reactive, dynamic, and complicated? But remember, this is, just happening in a Discord channel. There's no GM, and you're kind of limited in that respect. So this is where the idea of like, well, maybe I can use some sort of Discord bot, and use ChatGPT or Copilot to help program it quickly. And it doesn't have to be production ready. Like if something, oh, Derek, there's a bug in your game. Who cares? It's Dragonbane for my 30 patrons. It's not, some production quality game that people are paying for. So yeah. But I think Dragontide could be really interesting, as an alternative to people who, are playing Northern Reaches. What about chip ratings? I like all chips. Sour cream and onion. Awesome. Cheddar, great. Are we talking potato chips? Salt and vinegar, jalapeno. I don't like barbecue. I think they're gross. So there you go. I don't like barbecue potato chips. Every other form of potato chip I think I like. Yeah. Salt and vinegar, probably my favorite. If you could only play one TTRPG for the rest of your life, what would it be? Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition. You're all good, Travis. Lurkin's fine. You only come out and talk if you have something to say, and I appreciate you for being here. Take care, LCN. Oh, there you go. Using Claude. Sweet. Using Discord bot for your play-by-post game. Cool. Very cool. Yeah, salt and vinegar are amazing. S tier for sure. Just a random thought, but I really wish games with classes would go back to just 1 or maybe 2 spellcasters, and those had more depth of spells class feature. Okay. Well, the problem is, Sunhawk, what game are you talking about? Because if you're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, well, in original Dungeons and Dragons, the original AD&D, the fighter didn't cast spells, the thief didn't cast spells, but the paladin did, and the ranger did, and the monk basically did, and the wizard did, and the cleric did, and the druid did, and the bard did, and you see my point? D&D has always had 80% of the classes casting spells. So when you say go back, I'm not saying that maybe you want a game that doesn't have spell casting as much. It's fine, but when you say go back, D&D always has had a ton of spellcasters. I mean, even in 3rd edition D&D, in the core book, the only classes that didn't cast spells were the fighter, the monk, the fighter, and I count the monk as casting spells. I mean, it can dimension door, it can stunning fist, it can, it's a spellcaster. Maybe it's not a spellcaster, but it has all these supernatural powers. Was the barbarian, the fighter, and the rogue. Yeah, I think everybody else casts spells. Interesting answer. Would you say D&D 3rd edition is easier than Pathfinder 2 for new players? No, I would not. I'd say it's probably about the same. I mean, you make a lot less choices in 3rd edition. I mean, Pathfinder 2, you're making a feat choice every level. Skill feat, ancestry feat, general feat, class feat. A class like the Barbarian in D&D 3rd edition, I mean, you don't make any class decisions. Like, your class structure is locked in. There's no subclass choice at 3rd level like you have in 5th edition. All barbarians are the same. You get 6 feats. You get a feat at 1st level, 4th level, 7th level, 10th level, blah, 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 blah. You get like 6 feats throughout the course of the 20 levels of the game. And those are like the only character-driven choices that you're making. I mean, fantasy games are kind of defined by magic, right? So it kind of makes, I mean, that's like saying, like, I really dislike when sci-fi games make 80% of the characters use some form of technology. So it's like, well, it's a sci-fi game. Of course they're using some form of technology. And the rogue usually had a high UMD. They sure did, Shadram. Or there was like the rogue talent that lets you get some levels of for their spellcasters or whatever. Hey, Generalin, what's up? Maybe you already talked about, but nerd out. I did talk about MTG. How much have you drafted Tarkir Dragonstorm? Some pretty broken rares. I've done one draft, but it looks great. I've watched Paul Cheon, LSV, Kenji, all drafted a bunch. I've gone up to my local game shop. I've watched the guys drafted a couple times. We've talked about it. Seems like an amazing set. I love Tarkir. I love the multicolor format. I don't know if you watched the Denver coverage and BK's deck, and they've discovered like drafting 5-color dragons as a viable strategy. Looks amazing and great. It seems like there's a ton of awesome strategies, and I love that kind of deep gameplay. Sure. I mean, getting to cast spells is kind of a cool deal, especially when you get to cast a lot of them. But yeah. I don't know what I meant when I go back. I mean, yeah, if we're talking about like, I want D&D to feel more like Sword and Sorcery Conan the Barbarian, or I want it to feel more like Lord of the Rings, that's reasonable. Both, Conan the Barbarian and similar stories typically didn't have any protagonist that had spellcasting, or if they did, it was like almost more of like a hedge mage or like, a hedge wizard. Usually the real spellcasters, right, were bad guys or bad girls. And then obviously Lord of the Rings, really wasn't spellcasting at all, except from what were already essentially supernatural angelic beings like, the Ishtari or Sauron or something like that, which were all Maiar. So, but yeah, so there is that idea of like going back to that. The problem is that, players they're playing a fantasy game, right? What makes it different than just playing medieval knights in the mud is magic. And so it kind of makes sense that you might want to play with magic. I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy of a concept. The other thing about magic in D20 games, which is missed a bit, is that magic represents a way for outside the box problem solving, especially when you get into a world where spells are less codified, like let's say in Pathfinder 2. Spells become a great way to be creative, to come up with combat as war type strategies, to just be more strategic in general with your approach to problem solving, right? They give you a lot of tools in your toolbox to problem solve. And the same way that when you watch a sci-fi show, they go blah, 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 bullshit, 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 techno babble, in most fantasy RPGs is kind of accomplished by blah, 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 bullshit, magic. And of course, you know, as games have become more codified, the spells have become more just like, this does this one exact thing. And, you know, this is the classic Pathfinder 2 thing where it's like the fire spell doesn't actually do damage to objects because that would be broken. And so I definitely feel like part of the allure of having access to magic in the game is that it gives you this breadth of options to be able to solve things in a more interesting, you know, way. And I think that's what's missing. I think it's about the game component of, you know, what it allows you to do from a game perspective as well. Well, I hate the idea of the bard as an occult caster. Let me be very clear about that. So, I mean, I don't mind. I think the bard being able to cast magic is cool, but as an occult caster, no. I mean, again, showing my thing here, but like EverQuest bards were awesome because they had this whole completely unique system of spell casting. It wasn't really spell casting. It didn't use mana like everybody else. It used songs, and, you know, you could twist the songs, and that was like really cool. And some of the effects were kind of, you know, overlapping with spells, but it was a unique system that felt magical and musical, and that made it really, really cool. This is a common statement, and I don't actually think that I agree with it as much. Magic should be dangerous to cast. Now, I agree that from like a fantasy story perspective, magic should be dangerous to cast or costly in maybe in a universal balance sense. And that makes for better storytelling. Absolutely. Tends to make for shitty gameplay because when you choose to be a wizard or whatever, a spellcaster, you're doing that because you want to cast spells. So when you choose and this is strictly from a game perspective, like a game design perspective, you're choosing to engage with this class because you want to engage with those mechanics. But then the game is saying, but if you engage with those mechanics, you're probably going to blow up and die. And that's problematic because now you've chosen to be a wizard, and maybe the best, safest thing to do is not cast any spells. And that is a problem from a paradigm. It's totally fine in a novel because that's not your character, right? That's the person you're reading about, right? So that's the problem I have with that. I mean, I guess it depends on what magic means to you. I mean, certainly it doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings anymore. I will completely agree with that, right? The problem is, right, so I feel like D&D and Alike should have some more ways for marshals to solve problems. But what would that be? Right? That's the problem. Whoa, what is that? Right? The problem is there isn't a solution. The problem is there certainly isn't a high-level solution. That's the real problem, is that, you know, some games like even 4th edition D&D tried to solve this issue by giving marshals these powers, but they were all combat powers. Like, they still didn't have the ability to be like, I'm going to create a stone bridge out of thin air, or, ooh, what if we use the wall of ice and we put it at an angle, and then we can use it to deflect the waterfall so that we can access the cave entrance, right? Or, you know, something like that. But like, there's no way a martial character is going to do that unless you go into like anime martial mode. But then it's basically magic to me at that point, right? It's so supernatural, it might as well be magical. Twisting was legit. We only had one caster when we played Forbidden Lands, and they only ever cast low-rank spells because they were scared of the miscast table. We had 2 casters in our Forbidden Lands campaign, one of which was Smith, and Smith pretty much only cast spells that were overcasting. So he was always casting spells that were a rank above that he could cast, which meant every single one of them rolled on the miscast table. Because Smith, in a certain way, was like, well, I'm going to put this system to the test, you know? And the joke, you know, in kind of like almost like a act of civil disobedience. And the funny thing is he rolled like 11 or 12 or 13 like a million times, which is like you cast a spell and word of your reputation spreads. Gain +1 reputation. By the end of the game, Smith had like a reputation of like 10 or something because like apparently somebody noticed him casting a spell and that raised his reputation. We're getting off on a Forbidden Lands tangent here. To be fair, I mean, in my theoretical version of D&D, there would be 3 classes, right? You would have the warrior class, you would have the expert class, and then you would have the spellcasting class. So there's that. Preserver and Defiling was kind of cool to do it. You know, I mean, Dark Sun definitely had a style to it. Something anime sword abilities, exactly. Hoyrit, what's up? I like it when there's a safe amount of spells you can cast per day, but if you want to go beyond that, that's where the danger comes in. I think that's a fair trade-off. Actually, Hoyrit, I actually think that is actually a really interesting, because now there's an interesting play to it, right? And I think that's really cool, you know. I think that's really cool. Yeah, honestly, I don't really care about combat maneuvers either. I'm kind of just off on combat. I just don't care about combat. So like when people are like, there's so many combat things, I'm like, you know, that's one of the reasons why I haven't really gone back to Pathfinder 2. Because there's like nothing in that system that really excites me outside of the combat stuff. Right? We all know the skill feats suck. You know, and all of these games don't like, they're like, oh, we built out the exploration pillar. No, you didn't. You don't even know what that means. The fact that you're referring to it as an exploration pillar, I think, is mistake number 1, because that's like a D&D 5e-ism. I don't even know who came up with that concept. I think that whole concept is kind of bullshit, honestly. Yeah, Torchbearer is very interesting. Well, Torchbearer is interesting because you make a check, but if you fail, the GM can choose what to do, and the GM can choose to give you success with a condition. And it's a little bit more interesting because it feeds into the core mechanic of the game. But in that respect, casting a spell is like doing anything. You see, in Torchbearer, when your laborer tries to pick up a heavy rock, they're making the same check the spellcaster's making when they cast a spell. And to be fair, the spells in Torchbearer are things like make a light. The spells are pretty low powered in that respect. How would you better break down the game at social exploration combat is the only way I've ever heard of it. I think it's just well, it's about the nature of the mechanics, King Hodop, which is that the rules of the game are tied into fundamentally combat. And most of these games do not, and like even if you try to give those other elements mechanics, like in a weird way, like Pathfinder 2 is people, oh, it has exploration stuff because there's exploration actions, you know, like I can defend or I can search or I can do this. I still, that's not interesting gameplay. I mean, at least it's not to me. I don't know if to anybody else. People who've played Pathfinder 2, we've played it for many years now, and no one ever thought that was fun. You know, no one ever felt like, wow, this is a really cool, interesting decision. I'm going to raise my shield outside of combat. It just didn't really feel interesting in that respect. I think the better way to think about it, King Hodop, is to imagine that there isn't a distinction between the three. And that might sound very crazy, but there are games that do it like that. Torchbearer does it like that. So in Torchbearer, if you wanted to really focus in on something, you might run a conflict. And that conflict could be a fight, a skirmish versus a group of kobolds. But that same conflict system could be used for exploring the ancient maze of the labyrinth of the Minotaur. And that same conflict system could be used for negotiating with a ghost. So rather than trying to silo them into three separate distinctions, the better thing is to say, are conflicts important to our game? If they are, and we want to focus on them, then we should treat them the same, not differently, is how I would sort of refer to it. Numenera, I don't know is that just like a generic cipher term, but I mean, it's definitely a Numenera term. Glavejack Nano, War Historian, number one, I mean, I've talked about this before. I don't. Lately, he has had some misses. I will admit. Ever since he like he started like when he like married or whatever, like Shanna Germain. I'm not a big Shanna Germain fan, but you know, I will always love Sue. But Monty Cook is like I'm an unapologetic Monty Cook fanboy, and Monty Cook knew what was up. And the reason why I knew that Monty Cook knew what was up, by the way, with Glaive Jack Nano, we got a bunch of super chats coming in, is my idea, or like my, obviously other games have taken this. It's not like, Shadow of the Demon Lord does this, but Monty Cook created in 3rd edition the Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monty Cook in 3rd edition created the Dungeon Master's Guide. He created 5 NPC classes, they were called. And they were the classes that, because everything in 3rd edition, right, used classes, because everything in 3rd edition was operating on the same template structure. Even monsters, right, had hit dice, which worked like levels as feats. Anyways, but there were 3 classes. There was the warrior, the expert, and the adept. And the adept was basically the NPC spellcaster. There was also the aristocrat and the commoner. But the core 3 basically were warrior, expert, and spellcasting adept. It's called the adept. Ergo, Glaive, Jack, Nano in Cypher and Numenera made total sense. And when I read that, I was like, of course you did this, because you wrote the DMG, and this is where that whole genesis of that idea even came from. So Monty Cook is a GOAT tier. Torn, you're off to bed. But I saw you live, and I want to say hi. I hope you're doing well. Have a good night. Torn, thank you so much for super chat, but also thank you for just hanging out and being part of these streams and leaving comments. And I really appreciate you being part of the group. And I love that people get a kick out of this and listen to me ramble, and we get to have these fun little conversations. And I encourage all of you that can, to try to come out to conventions like Gen Con or Origins, just so we can hang out in person. I'm always happy to sit down with fans of the channel and patrons and shoot the shit and play games. And I mean, that's pretty much what I go for there. So it's all about community. It's all about connection. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, Torn. Whoople, surprised I'm still going, said, shout out for Northern Reaches Season 3. Shaping out to be our best season yet. We are going to do a live stream on Thursday. We're going to be hyping up Northern Reaches Season 3. Pathfinder 2 is back, baby. That's all I'm going to say. On the Knights of Last Call. It's been a while since Pathfinder 2 has kind of had the zeitgeist, but we've had a lot of new people sign up. We've had a lot of people return to the Patreon, and for one reason and one reason only: Northern Reaches. And it's to play Pathfinder 2 in a cool, unique situation, and it's thanks to people like Whipplestein that we're able to do that. So thank you, Whipple. Appreciate that. Exploration actions. God, there's a reason that Elia's been on the channel several times, because she's got good takes. Exploration actions in Pathfinder 2, in my experience, ended up boiling down to a list of bonuses that no one ever changed. Correct. Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry to disturb you, but I wanted to share that after years of following VODs, I have finally have the chance to catch the show live. Keep up the good work, Derek. That's sick, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're here late, almost 2 a.m. my time. But people thought Knights of Last Call was Knights of Last Call went into exile when we left the studio last April. Turns out we had to wait a year, and now I'm in exile because I don't have anything to do. So that's awesome. It's hard for me to not separate combat from other game systems. It's so ingrained in me that combat is the old glass break. Exactly. I've talked about this before. That glass break, roll for initiative, distinction of combat. I was just bitching about that on what's the Fate stream? I think it was the Fate stream. I was talking about with like Legend of the Five Rings and how it has a conflict system that feels like it just pulls you out of the core sense of the game, because suddenly you're in this initiative order. Suddenly you're doing this other stuff. Hey, what's up, John? Am I reading this right? The Fate live stream had 1K views. Let me take a look at the old YouTube studio. Currently, the Fate live stream, which was only 2 days old, is over 1,000 views. That is correct. So, to be fair for us, if we get to 2,000, we're like, yeah. I think Ronald our friend the rules lawyer, he did a video 3 days ago called Why D&D 5.5e Failed, and it currently has 30,000 views. So, let's put it in perspective here. Hakeem, I can't believe I actually get to watch the live stream live. Hakeem, it's awesome. I'm glad you got to join us. I wanted to like it too. I kickstarted. It was one of the very first things I kickstarted. It was so long ago. People forget Numenera is like almost as old as 4th edition D&D. Like Numenera came out like 2009 or something. 2013. Okay, I was a little off. But like the Kickstarter was like in 2011 or something like that. So, I mean, it's pretty old. It's older than 5th edition. Yeah, Jake, Lancer, right? Some of these games are like, yes, combat is so, and like, let's really distinguish it. It's like almost a completely different system for combat versus, doing everything else, What's up? What's up? Lotrock. Loader, okay? Help me out there. I'm just going to call you Lord of the Rings. I'm just going to LOTR. I bet if you change the title to "Is D&D Dead? Is Fate the New King?" you would see the views go to the moon. Hold on a sec here. Let's just watch this in action here, okay? Shall we? We're gonna go over to PDF. All right. Okay. I recently did a live stream on my TTRPG channel about the Fate core system. It's doing okay, but I would like to make the thumbnail and title more clickbait to attract /outrage/interest 5e D&D players. Any suggestions? Let's see what we get here. Absolutely. If you're aiming to draw in the 5e crowd, especially the curious, disillusioned, or easily baited, then you'll want to tap into familiar language, provoke curiosity or outrage, and position Fate Core as something that either challenges or enhances their understanding of what TTRPGs can be. Here's a few spicy clickbait-style thumbnail titles and accompanying visual ideas that could grab the 5e crowd. Clickbait title ideas. Fate Core is what D&D should have been. Subtext, narrative power, shared control, and no 300-page spell list. Why Fate Core makes 5e look like a dinosaur. Ditch the grid. Embrace the fiction. No classes, no levels, no problem. Fate Core breaks the mold, and it works. D&D players hate this one simple system. It gives narrative control back to the players. This indie RPG lets you build anything. 5e can't compete. Make Batman, make Sailor Moon, make a dragon lawyer. Fate does it all. Is D&D holding you back? Fate Core sets you free. Ditch the crunch. Find the story. Fate Core, the RPG that doesn't care about your +1 sword. Your aspects are your real power. Why aren't more people playing this RPG instead of D&D? Now, this is a real clickbait because you don't even put Fate, right, in the thing. You just say, why aren't more people playing this RPG instead of D&D? It's free, it's genius, it's criminally underrated. Thumbnail suggestions. Big, bold text like no classes, no stats, D&D killer. 5e players hate this. Imagery, a 5e character sheet in flames or torn in half. A smug Fate Core book with sunglasses over it. The Fate die with a ban 5e text bubble. You or your avatar with a shocked face reacting to Fate mechanics. Side by side, a cluttered D&D character sheet versus a clean Fate character sheet. Would you like me to mock up a few thumbnail texts with graphic ideas? Hold on a sec here. Yes. Can you create a 1980 by 1080 YouTube thumbnail with the Fate dice with ban 5e text bubble? That's actually the one. That's actually the one I picked, John. I really hate how good LLM. Well, because LLMs learn by association, and they understand that that is what is going on, and they're just learning from observations, right? No, Maru, I cannot sleep. Well, Maru, it's more like sleep no longer exists for me. I am outside the boundaries of the 24-hour cycle. Joseph likes my movie voice. This summer, fate is coming for you. There we go. There's our thumbnail. I mean, obviously, we need to tweak it up a little bit, but for a first go, yeah, not bad, right? It's not bad. I should definitely not make movies. The temperature of the Earth just went up 0.01. Maybe not that much, but they do use a lot of electricity. To be fair, Dr. Stevel, they require a lot of electricity to train. I mean, obviously, they do take electricity to run, but they do, So, all right. So, hold on a sec. Here. I'm going to open this. So I'm going to save this as Fate variant. Okay. We saved that. And now we're going to scroll up here. Hold on a sec here. I'm gonna do this here. Adobe. Just wait 1 second here. Okay. All right. All right. So let me add this here. D&D players hate this one. Wait, what did it say? I gotta go back to it. Get it right here. Let's see here. D&D killer. That's what we gotta put. So we gotta change this. Let's go with white text. No, we gotta go something like red text or something, right? Bold, big text here. Let's change this font a little bit. I don't know if I love this font. That was pretty good. Well, that's my normal font. All right. Now I'm gonna save this. Export. All right. Here we go. Look, I can't listen. The AI overminds. The AI masters decided, not me. Okay. So now I'm gonna go over. Okay, hold on a sec here. So now I'm going to go over to my Fate Core video. All right. And now I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to replace this thumbnail with this thumbnail. File is bigger than 2 megabytes. What? Why is the file bigger than 2 megabytes? Is it like huge? I guess I gotta export as. Why is that bigger than 5 megabytes? Oh, it's 2.1 megabytes. Weird. right. All right. Back to this. Nope. Back to this. There we go. Okay. Change. There we go. All right, and then we're going to upload. We're going to change the title from Fate Core Livestream, Mechanics Q&A More, Livestream number 292. And we're going to change that to... what do we want to change it to? Did I close ChatGPT? No, it's right here. Why aren't more people playing this RPG instead of D&D? There we go. So we're going to go back here. All right. So we're going to do this. And we're going to go boom, boom. There we go. So we're now going to do some A/B testing here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Shadran. We're going to A/B test this. So now the title is Why Aren't More People Playing This RPG Instead of D&D? Livestream number 292. Ban 5e, D&D killer, no classes. So that is now the thumbnail. We're going to see what happens. Oh, I need a Wojak 5e. What is a Wojak 5e player? I don't know what that is. Right now, Mark T is crying. He's asleep, but he's crying as much. The other day, I asked ChatGPT to create a TTRPG for me, and then it did a better job explaining it to me than I thought of. Yeah, well, that'll happen. I mean, again, that's what it's good at. It's good at basically regurgitating stuff that people already know to you. I mean, that's pretty much what it does. It's a fancy prediction algorithm. To be clear, so are you. I mean, that's what we do as humans, right? We just predict the next thing that we're going to do, right? Well, King Hodop, I would like to say that you're wrong, except me and all the data scientists at my company just got laid off because AI can do most of our jobs. So, yeah. Yes, but also no. Let's see here. So, now to be fair, to be completely clear here, most of my channel, after a couple days, most of the time, the YouTube algorithm kills our video because it doesn't get enough clicks, and that means it falls off the algorithm. So as far as I'm concerned, like, we're not really poisoning the well. Like, the people that were going to watch that video have watched that video for the most part. Now, Generalin is absolutely correct. The biggest problem that we have is that people will see it and then click off of it immediately, right? Because they'll see that it's 2 hours and 17 minutes long. And they'll be like, what the fuck? Yeah. See, this is the rational explanation given to people because they realize that it's stupid that the machines turned people into batteries. But Morpheus is very clear that and they use the term using a form of fusion, they were able to generate enough BTUs, blah, blah, blah. No, the movie had a fundamental flaw in its logic, which is that the humans were producing energy. I work in tech too, and I'm constantly worried that I will get canned for AI. I work data science too. It's definitely taking over. The team keeps getting LLM jobs over machine learning ones now. Some of them hate it. So I obviously would have liked to keep my job, but I will say that the assignments that I have gotten, or that I had gotten in the last 6 to 9 months, were basically no longer data science jobs. They were no longer data science assignments. We were not machine learning. We were not building models. It was all about LLM optimization using existing LLMs, blah, 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 blah. And the LLMs that exist on such a scale that no individual or even corporation can build them, right? You literally need to be like Microsoft or Google or, Anthropic or OpenAI or whatever. And so, there's no way to compete with that. And it was like my jobs were literally like how to use, Gemini to do this thing. Like that became my job. And it was very, very unsatisfying, to be honest with you. So, right. Dr. Steve, there's an old joke, which is that when, YouTube was like pushing shorts, and we were very aware that our videos were very long. And I said, guys, we should try to do shorts or something, that's just so terrible. And Smith, who used to be a, co-host on this show, on this channel, he was like, all right, you know what? I'm in my car, I'm driving to work. I can, I'll record some stuff real quick. And so Smith like puts together and he sends it over and he goes, well, what do you think about that? And I go, dude, that was 5 minutes long. He goes, yeah, it was short. I go, dude, it has to be under 60 seconds. And he goes, holy shit, how does anybody do anything in under 60 seconds? I know exactly. You can't. It's so stupid. But yeah. The pizza shop. So we'll see. We'll see how the Ban 5e D&D Killer Fate Dice No Glasses thumbnail and why aren't more people playing this RPG instead of D&D do. But remember, you were here first. You saw the algorithm. You saw the clickbait in motion. Good morning. Over there in Europe. Yeah, you get to see how the sausage is made, King Hodop. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, all right, folks. It's 2 a.m. I can't believe this went 3 hours. It was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. I expect this more often and randomly and at the last minute. Again, if I don't have anything going on and I don't have anywhere to be, I mean, why not hang out with you all? Especially, if you all make it awesome for me and worth my time. I mean, you guys were awesome. You guys were amazing. I mean, so many of you came out tonight and threw down some support, and that means, I mean, it's always been appreciated. It always been appreciated, but now, I mean, it's literally allowing me to, pay my bills. So, so unbelievably huge shout out to Thaddeus, Roman, Karama, Anonymous, who was actually, oh crap. It was, they didn't want to be anonymous. Now I can't remember who it was. Sunhawk, Kaz, Mark T, Jello Shots for signing up to the adventure, Geo Rock 1, Vindiana Jones, Lawful Catic Neutral, Tornade 180, and Wolpelstein. Everyone came out to support. Orcasa, no, we did not do a normal stream tonight. I just kind of did a late night stream, so we're gonna do the judging stream. Maybe tomorrow night if I'm feeling up for it. Maybe we'll do a normal stream or a little bit later stream, and then we'll do it there. But yeah, I know it's Junderlin. It's bizarre. It's very strange to me that Twitch, the top chatting is just all chatting. It's very weird to me, but it is the way it is. Alrighty, folks. Well, it was awesome. It was amazing hanging out with you all. I really appreciate it. Vindiana was great. I love to hear it, Vindiana. I hope you give it a try. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to get involved with things and don't be you're amongst friends there. We're very we're not an echo chamber. We challenge each other. We push back on each other, but it's pretty great. Parasocial relationships go burr. The thing is, I agree with you, except the problem. The thing is like, a lot of these relationships are not just one way. Like with me, like I run games for these people. I play in these people's games. I meet these people not just at conventions, but I mean, we've had anybody who's basically came through Cleveland when we had the studio. We'd invite them down, come hang out at the studio with us, or go grab dinner with us or something like that. Like, I mean, obviously I understand that there's a distance because of the digital element, but, I don't view it that way. I mean, obviously not everybody's my friend. And obviously, people are paying money to, potentially be part of the community or tip, but, yeah, I mean, Carol, I challenge you. All right. You sure do, buddy. You sure do. You know, I'm just glad that other people get to experience the fun and the frustration. Most of the Fate stream was me and Derek disagreeing with. Yeah, I was trying to John. I kept trying to bait you. I'd be like, all right, John, what are your thoughts on blah blah blah? And you're like, well, I feel this way, but I'm willing to bet that you feel opposite. I'm like, yes, John, I do. You know what, Hakeem? That is fair. I mean, if it's you know, one way, you don't usually get to interact with me like you are right now. You know, we've never hung out. We're not, you're not part of the Discord, so we're not chatting and shooting the shit and stuff like that. That's fair. But also parasocial to me implies a certain degree of like parasitism. And I don't know, you seem like you're probably pretty well, you know, handling yourself pretty well. I'd like to think that you're not having some sort of parasitic relationship with me, and I'm not taking advantage of you in any sort of capacity. So, you know, I think that's fine. Yeah, I know you don't play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Well, I mean, to be clear, Junderlin, I'm literally starting a Pathfinder 2 campaign like in a couple weeks. I'm going to be a player. Smith is running it. It's going to be Pathfinder 2 plus Starfinder 2 plus Battlezoo Bestiary stuff, including, most importantly, the Eldamon stuff. So actually, I'm about to play in a new Pathfinder 2 campaign as a player. I think Northern Reaches will always be, you know, Pathfinder 2 for the foreseeable future. Although, you know, there could be like there could be like you know, I don't know, the Northern Expanse or the Spinward Expanse, the Spinward Reaches, and then we could have like I think that's actually the name of a Traveler book, is like the Spinward Reaches or the Spinward Marches, and then we might have like a Starfinder 2 campaign, you know. So what am I gonna play? I have to read Smith's notes and his updates to his notes, but like he was saying, like, let me see if I can find it here. Smith's original notes, and he has done some stuff here. He says, general notes: Pathfinder 2E chassis plus Battlezoo Bestiary, Eldamon, Ancestries, Dragons, Monster Hunting plus Starfinder. The feel is going to be very Star Ocean vibes, if you know the Star Ocean JRPGs. Majority of the campaign will take place on a single world and or in very close proximity to that world. Not expecting a lot of space shenanigans or starships, but there's also not rules for this yet because the Starfinder 2 is only the intro thing. Not opposed to going full Xenogears on the planet with mechs, but also no rules there yet either. Maybe we could do that later this year. It's not like you'd have mechs at level 1 anyways. A lot of the world will be wild and fantasy, but there will be high-tech ancient ruins, including larger world areas, not just dungeons. Civilizations will range between primitive fantasy, medieval, steam, magitech, advanced through advanced civilizations will probably be limited from space travel. Most of the advanced civilizations will be secret, aloof, not immediately obvious since they don't want to deal with everybody. Blah, blah, blah. There will be various opposed, not literal, but sometimes literal forces, themes in the world, such as technology versus nature, working with the Eldamon versus using the Eldamon to power industrialism. So we're kind of using the Eldamon as almost like espers from like Final Fantasy 3/6. Blah, blah, blah. So all of ancestries are available, all classes are available, depending on your origin, including BZB classes. So I would like to be an elemental avatar because I like that idea fundamentally better than the trainer, but I don't like pigeonholing myself into one element. So I like the idea of being able to accumulate multiple elements. So there is something to be said about, coming in from that, about being of that kind of perspective. Now, of course, it's a Smith campaign, so there's things like feats, powers, abilities will be handled more like moves from PBTA. Combat will probably be zone-based, not using like engage, close, near, far, and distant. There's something in here about death. We'll use the surrender or sacrifice rule from Fabula Ultima. So already you can see that it's like, oh, it's Pathfinder 2. Hard right turn, and already we're going off into a new direction. So. Really cool says, what the fuck? So I don't know. Yeah, I think I would engage with that. Nicholas, since again, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Despite the distance, Derek and the Knights have somehow become part of our daily lives. Even my wife avidly listens to the Torchbearer games. Excellent. I'm glad you're enjoying those. And the thing about those games, I can't even stress this enough, Nicholas. Those games are not what I would consider an actual play game because it's just me recording a game that I was going to be running anyways for ticket holders from the Patreon. So it's really like there's no like agenda or production there. It's just literally the way I would run a game. And so it's a little bit different. I mean, I don't know if you all can tell the difference. It's a little bit different than, let's say, when I ran Rise of the Rune Lords or Root or Quest for the Thrones of Flame, which I was very aware of was more of a production in a certain sense. Now, to be fair, it's not like I'm fudging or doing anything like that because that's not my style. But I wonder if there's like a little bit of a difference there. And I think it's cool that you appreciate that, given that it's not really designed to be like a watchable game. I'm not really focused on the audience. I'm really just focused on the players, right? Like once we start the game, I kind of completely forget that we're even recording. And it's really just all about the players. Whereas with Root or Rise of the Rune Lords, it was really all about the audience and not as much about the players, right? In a certain sense. So I'm glad you appreciate them. All right. You bought some FU in a bracket. All right. Well, Hakeem, if you ever do decide to join, we'll be happy to have you. You do love Star Ocean? Yeah, Star Ocean's great. We were all big fans of Star Ocean coming in there. The thing is, Karama, like I will accept a certain amount of responsibility for this because I had the fire and then I had my panic attacks and I just wasn't. Southern Beaches was designed to be like Northman Challenge, which is where it's like it was supposed to be. It's even the player book says it was a variant campaign. It was kind of supposed to be, in its own little realm. To be fair, so that was my original intention. Obviously outside of that, I don't know if I'll ever actually make an RPG King Hold Up. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I would be able to. Is it possible that we might actually get something like, Project Shadow Deep to completion? Maybe. That's a possibility. That seems more of a possibility than me actually making an RPG. Because me shit talking all these RPGs, it's not just shit talking. Like I legitimately think it's a very difficult process to get it right, and that's tough. Let's see here. Derek does actual plays the way they should be done. I mean, it depends on what you're in for. Like if you're in for the experience of a story, mine are very bad. But if you're here to like watch people play RPGs and maybe learn how to play them, then that's more what it is. Let's see. I mean, I was supposed to sign off here. I would play in your normal game. I mean, yeah, I like to think that I'm a pretty okay game master after 30 years of doing it, or 32 years of doing it, going on 33 years of doing it. This is such an this is such an insider take. Like it means nothing to almost no one, but it's just funny. You left space on your map for Starfinder in case of a crater from a crashed asteroid. There you go. At least you can use the bestiaries. I mean, not gonna lie, I can't watch Critical Role anymore, and I enjoy your Torchbearer games way more. Well, it's because I like the game, and I don't want the game to be transparent. I don't want the game to be transparent to my audience. I don't want the game to be transparent to my players. I like engaging with the game, engaging with the mechanics, and discussing at the table, what that means and how that impacts the game.
Goblins and androids tipped $25. So sounds like you should play a fighter.
That would be the most epic Pathfinder 2 thing of all time. To be fair, Goblins and Androids, thank you, by the way. I can't do that because the last Smith campaign, I played a fighter. So I actually started off playing a cleric, and I told him, I said, I can't be a cleric anymore. I'll keep playing the cleric because we need a healer, but I have to make something else. I'm going to make a fighter so I can like do something. So it would be really, I can't play a fighter the second time. All right, Nicholas, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'm going to for sure. And you know, again, I'm excited. I like hanging out. I like talking about role playing games. And you know, before it was always just sort of like a fun thing to do, and we were always very pleasantly surprised by how many people showed up and to these live streams. But now I can, you know, maybe think seriously about, you know, investing some of my time, like you know, 20, 30 hours a week into the TTRPG space. Yeah, John, that's, I mean, that's basically what Project Shadow Deep is, right? Is the idea of like, you know, it started off as me just sort of like kidding with Kelsey Dion and on when she was on, and Stephen Glicker about, you know, I don't think dungeons are dead. I think dungeons are awesome. You know, screw your hex crawls. And then people were like, yeah, you should do that. And I was like, okay. And then the joke was that that first stream happened on a Tuesday. And I said, yeah, I'm just talking high level. You know, doing something like this would take way too much time. I would not have the time for it ever. And then the next day I got laid off. So it was kind of like, so what's your excuse now? You know, I thought that was pretty funny. Exactly, Alia. If I want to watch a story, I'd watch a movie. We need more Bob taking over Lizard Girls. Again, clearly not expected. That was not, none of that was expected. Yeah. Well, you know, Derek, you know, like I said, I don't got to get up. Yeah, I mean, Hakeem, we originally did a couple of PDF releases for Knights of Last Call. It just was very difficult for us. We're not publishers. We don't know how to edit. None of us knew InDesign. So it was a very slow, clumsy process. And I'll be the first to admit that writing and collating stuff is very, very challenging for someone like me. You know, I could talk about RPGs for a long time, but if you ask me to sit down and like write something out, it could be very challenging for me. So, but maybe I'll have the time now. But thank you, Goblins and Androids. Whipplestein, thank you for another $10. All spells remastered when fire emoji. Well, you know, now that we're going into Northern Reaches Season 3, Whipplestein, I think we should like keep that in our back pocket. Like maybe after like the first couple of weeks, like we can do an all spells remastered as sort of like a pseudo Pathfinder 2 hype Northern Reaches to kind of bring people back in. I think that could be pretty sweet. And you know, I'd love to get people back on and we could talk about like, oh, are you using this spell in Northern Reaches Season 3? Because again, you know, I feel bad talking about some of the remastered spells when I haven't had a chance to, you know, play them. So, you man, damn you, Cass. Try Soldier, unload with a machine gun cone attack. I thought the Solarian looked really cool, but good night, Hoyrit. This is now Derek's new do it for the plot era. Yeah. Well, the key is I want to experiment. I want to do new things, but I also don't want to like change what the channel is and what it's been. You know, it's been modestly successful and I appreciate that. And I like doing it. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't do it. All right. That's the Spirit King. Make sure you watch that Saturday. We just posted it today. We just posted the Saturday crew was just like 3 days ago, and now it's available for patrons only. Only the patrons get to see the Saturday crew. The public gets to see the Sunday crew. Sunhawk, my 5-player switch from PF2 to the Starfinder, and we say we do have a fighter, a soldier, and an operator in the group, and it doesn't feel like anyone is stepping on the other's toes. Again, one of the fundamental problems I have with Pathfinder 2, and I'm going to enjoy. Smith runs great games, and we're going to have fun with it, no doubt. But one of the fundamental problems I have right now is I'm in a space mentally where I don't care about combat much anymore. I don't really care about tactical combat for sure. So yeah, you know, so it's not that I'm doing it for the plot. I like if you watch the Torchbearer games, right? Like the group failing a check and then their rope breaking and then falling into the ancient tomb vault in darkness, getting the magical illumination up in time to see the skeletons, and then realizing that, you know, because of the rules of Torchbearer, there was really no good way for them to fight the skeletons. So they start running off into the middle of the dungeon after falling through a shaft to the bottom of it. Like that to me is way more interesting than any combat. So You don't care about a tactical game even in the new game to you? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but my answer, generally speaking, would be no. I mean, in fact, even Smith's kind of in that era too with this Pathfinder 2 game, because that's why like we're not going to be doing grids. We're going to be just doing zones and trying to keep it fast paced and not worry as much about the tactical things, even if the game is new to you. Yeah, no, right. I don't care. Tactical game combat is just not something I'm currently interested in at all. Much at all right now. I mean, that'll change. It comes in, cycles, waves, 5-10 year wave. I was on a Pathfinder 2 kick for a very long time, from like 2019 to like 2022. So like 4 years. And during that time, I ran a number of campaigns. I played in a couple of campaigns, and Pathfinder 2 is a pretty crunchy combat, count squares, type game, and I get burned out on it. That's all. Maybe I'm too D&D brain rotted, but I can't imagine myself enjoying a game where combat never happens. Fair enough. Combat. Okay, let me say. I think the thing is, I could say this exact same thing. Maybe I'm too much of a human being who enjoys exciting things, but I can't imagine myself enjoying a game where conflict never happens. I like conflict. I don't want to sit around and, talk about my feelings. I want conflict, but that conflict doesn't have to be a combat. For me, that's the exciting point. In fact, if you watch most action adventure movies, most of the scenes, which are exciting and aren't fighting. It's something else. It's a dramatic chase. It's an exciting montage, right? It's a bunch of stuff. So it doesn't have to be just combat. And the reason why people like combats is because the stakes are clear, the mechanics are engaged too. So that's why we do those things. That's sweet. There you go. Yeah, well, Northern Reaches Season 3 is here, and that is the time. And certainly people do a lot of Northern Reaches players, GMs over the years have sort of incorporated 4E MMO type, mechanics into their systems to make it a little bit more exciting. Take care, William. Thank you again for stopping by. I really, really appreciate it. Combat is absolutely the purest distillation of conflict. You're absolutely right, Indiana. The stakes are clear. The sides are, Like the mechanics are very intuitive. People get it. And it's also the lowest common denominator. It's the purest, but it's also the lowest common denominator, right? Combat but not tactical grid based, I'm much more inclined to do. In fact, if you watched our Torchbearer game, there's been conflicts of combats, and I'm much more engaged with those because, or for example, maybe even Fabula Ultima, which is not using the grid because it runs faster and it's a little bit quicker. So, absolutely, Hakeem, great way to end the stream. Conflict, drama, and tension fueled by difficult choices is the juiciest part of the TTRPGs for me, and that is definitely where I'm, biting into it the most. And over the years, that has been the part that I've always come back to, that I've even, as I sort of shed some of my younger aspirations of like power fantasy and character builds and, that sort of MMO, filling up my characters, all my slots and building cool builds. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I did that and then kind of put that away and really being into the minis and the models and the Dwarven Forge and the combat and the tacticals, and then kind of moving on. The thing that has continued to grow over the years is everything that Hakeem just said. So, absolutely, Shadram, 100%. Yep. I mean, combat is the lowest common denominator. That's not always a bad thing, but it is a thing. Exactly. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. And if you enjoy that, more power to you, because that's what most games are, But a great example of that is how, like in Avatar, so many of the moves, like there is no like, well-developed bending combat. There's not even a bending move, right? There's just the generic, use your tools move, which could be bending or could not be bending. But that's because the conflict of the game is about you finding a way to deal with the challenges that are being set before you while maintaining your character's balance between these two principles that are pulling on you like yin yang or like angel devil, except it's not like good guy, bad guy. It's just they're both different. And, you have to make that choice as a player, but the mechanics also inform those choices. And limiting those choices makes the process of doing it more about discovery than creation. And I'm far more interested in discovery than creation, even if that discovery is, sort of in situ and it's happening on an ad hoc procedural basis. I would rather uncover a story rather than create one. Does that make sense? Is that, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's really late. So, all right. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Goblins and Androids, Wobblestein, for those last minute tips and super chats. Y'all are aces in y'all are aces in my book. When's the next stream? Could be tomorrow. Definitely Thursday. We're gonna be talking about Northern Reaches, normal time, 7 p.m. Eastern. But we might do a stream tomorrow, and I'm supposed to be on Roll for Combat tomorrow as well. So look for that in the mid-afternoon. But yeah, at this point, Vindiana, who the hell even knows? It's 2:30 in the morning here. So is it nighttime or is it early enough to be daytime? Nobody knows. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you next time on Knights of Last Call. Peace.